G'day, welcome to the Inforunners. I'm having a hell of a morning. Thank you for joining me, Piggles. Piggles is going to be filling in today for Old Man Hurston himself because he's decided to go off to CanCon in Canberra. It's a wargaming convention. And I don't know what it is. My eyes, I don't even tell, but my eyes are really itchy and they've gone all red. So if I start rubbing them, you'll have to stop me. But Piggles has been kind enough to join me, as I said today, and he's brought some... What are we going to look at later, Piggles? What are we going to look at later?
Yeah, we might have a Kraken later. It depends on how we're doing for time, I guess.
Yeah, people are good. If people behave themselves, I guess, is the other one. Right, I'm going to do some... Let's do it again. I'm having this issue with the... Because I use a piece of software that allows me to connect two computers together. Every once in a while, pretty rarely, it bugs out and I can't get to the other computer. And I'm trying to get over the other computer so I can get stuff off it that I need to get off it. Let's see if it'll let me. Here we go. Nah. Every time I click the mouse button, it's just dying on me. I don't know what to do here. Sorry. Right. Have you had a chance to look at the Misfortune stuff yet, Piggles?
Yeah, I had a little look. I don't really have much opinion on it, to be honest. It just appears to be a refinery ship.
A refinery? I thought it was a salvage ship.
Refinery salvage. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
My mistake.
Yeah. You're gonna start a firestorm with comments like that. Right. Yeah. But yeah, I think it is going to be very helpful. I think it gives people another option. I do think it's going to be tailored at ground-based salvage or planetary salvage is probably the best thing to call it. Just because of the way it's designed with the lift at the back. I was hoping it was two people actually, but I don't think it's going to be that anymore. Mainly because, well, there's not two seats in it anymore. So, but yeah, all right, cool. Got that part sorted. One more thing to sort, and then we're all good. Getting your bot up and running, Pills, which is a lifesaver of this stream. No Agrid. Can't live without it, put it that way. And then we are fully organized. Jeez, right, start. We are good. All right, so make sure you get questions in. Lives or dies on the questions. Do you want to go over the Misfortune stuff really quickly? Me and Agra did put a video out, and we went through it. But you've seen it yourself. You don't have anything you really want to add to it, obviously, from what you just said.
I mean, it appears to be a ship, really. I had a quick look at in the pulled apart the PTU data core, and it's there. It's flyable currently, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the next patch. Same with the Super Hornet Mark II. I think the leaks guys said they were going to get some videos of it. I can't remember if they have or not, but
they do.
That seems to. They have. All right.
Yeah. If I go, give me 2 seconds. I could probably even bring it up.
But yeah, either way, they're both flyable in the current PTU patch, so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them when the update comes out.
So this was taken by Hater. Hang on, I've got to switch it over. It's already still playing. This is it here in the background. But yeah, there is some. It's very similar to the Saber Raven variants where they've changed some of the things on the outside, like the landing gears moved and stuff like that. Obviously to accommodate the bigger area in of the inside. It's pretty much double the size on the inside from the Prospector. That area there is where I expect the cargo to go, but still allows a step on the front for you to get on when it's full of cargo as well. And because the cargo is very externalized, and you've got to load it from the middle section to the backward section, and you've got to land to do that, it kind of tells me the fact that you're landing, it tells me that it's planetary based. So I think this is really what it's tailored for, is that base building and vehicle which differentiates it from the Vulture.
I only remember seeing 2 cargo grids on the database file for it.
Yeah, same here. So yeah,
which would account for the 2 outer ones. So it would surprise me if there was an internal cargo at the back, but
so
it always can be updated.
They had an entity list, right? And in the entity list, they had a salvage cargo grid and a lift cargo grid. So if there's those two grids, I assume the salvage are the ones on the sides, and that the
yeah,
cargo...
generally I'd expect them to be split up into two there, but yeah, like I said, I haven't looked at it for a while, so it's entirely possible that it's been updated since I looked.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of these changes and fixtures will carry over to the prospect as well, like all the light switches and all that shit type of working as well. So,
I haven't seen any prospector updates, but
it's essentially the same shit. It's like what happened with the Raven. Like the Raven got updated as well. The Terrapin got updated when they did the medical Terrapin, stuff like that. So, yeah. I think the other thing that leads credence to what you said about it coming in the next patch is there's a skin for the Lunar festival. We did talk about this in our video, but I think that that lends so much weight. Like, and that starts on like Christmas, New Year, or not Christmas, New Year, Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year is on the 29th of January. It starts on, so that's really, really soon. And as you said, the patch on the PTU is running really, really well. We were talking about this before the show. So like you said, I expect this to be out in the next week or two. So, yeah.
I mean, within the next 4 to 5 days, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
The update has all of the event content in it. So, and especially with the ramping up for phase 2 of, is it Save Stanton? Yeah, phase 2 of Save Stanton. That's also in there as well.
So we were meant to have that like
if it essentially, yeah. So essentially, if it doesn't come out within those few days, then that'll be too late for the event. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a real push to get it out.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. Right. Right. So make sure you get your questions in, guys. We don't have a single question. Let me guess. The bot is not. Let me guess. I'm gonna test a question. It's gonna be a really short stream. If no questions are working, so obviously there's no questions. Cool. This is gonna be a really short stream. That makes it easy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can talk about other than the what was it?
The big theme we'd really mentioned was sort of the tech of 4.0, wasn't it?
I think there's like the really obvious stuff that's coming after this is all the stuff that was promised for the patch. Like if you go through the patch, like so engineering and stuff like that, and I think a lot of people were disappointed that engineering was dropped out, but it is such a big piece of tech. Like it's. And you've got to cut something. You'd have to say that server meshing is probably more important than engineering. I think you would agree with me on that statement.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've said in the past quite a lot. I wouldn't assign the status Jesus patch to anything in improvements to performance, stability, that kind of thing. But if I had to pick anything in particular, or any one piece of tech as the biggest step forward, it would be server meshing, because that's really what allows this game to scale on what CIG is aiming for, and allows us to separate out the systems as well.
Yeah, it's a defining tech of this game.
Yeah, very much.
What was it in chat? Someone mentioned in chat. They said, "Have you seen the Mark II leaks?" I was reading it and then I forgot their name. I always like to give credit where credit's due. Sorry, who I forgot. Execute your mic setting is blocking background noise for screwing up your audio. Your mic setting for blocking background noise is screwing up my audio. Can you hear me fine? Is my mic distorted or anything? Pickles?
No, I hear you all right.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. All right, if you guys can't hear me, just let me know. But yeah, it seems fine on my end, and I haven't changed anything, so yeah. The only thing I can see on the Mark II stuff is literally the skins. Have you got anything more than that, Pickles, that you've seen?
I know the flyable model is in the patch. I think one of the other modders mentioned they were going to do a video of a walk around at some point, but I don't know if they've got around to it yet. But it is in the current PTU patch, and it is flyable as it is. So
yeah. So this
I'd put it in the same boat as the Fortune of most likely flyable when the update comes out.
Yeah. So again, looking at these are all just skins going in for that, and they're very similar, if not exactly the same as the ones for the Hornet. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if whoever's telling me that I got sound issues, it's looking like it's on your end, bro. Because yeah, no one else is having those issues. Right. these videos here to look at later. Right. There was a video there. I'm halfway through watching on Section 31. I don't know if you heard about that. Apparently, it's really, really bad for Star Trek.
Is that the new Star Trek thing?
Yeah, apparently it's like awful. Yeah. It's like even people that really like the new Star Trek hate it. So yeah.
I didn't know it was out.
Yeah, I didn't know either. But like I'm watching. There's a Critical Drinker one I watched there, and there's a Overlord DVD one that I'm watching as well. So yeah. Right, I think we got one question came in. Let me double check on that real quick. Oh no, we got a few questions. All right, first question is from the Glass Sword, who says, "Have you seen the Super Hornets League?" Hey, that's the guy that I was talking about. So we just kind of went over that. Yes, we've seen it. I don't know. I do think the Hornet will, and Alga and I kind of agree on this, that the Hornet is kind of going to be one of the best middle-of-the-road ships, like a real generalist. And I think the Super Hornet's probably the best version of the Hornets. I don't know if you would agree with that, Piggles? Yes or no?
Not quite. I'd argue the Super Hornets are more specialized in towards the fighter direction. The idea of your regular F7C being a generalist, I can get behind. Because that actually has that little 2SCU box in the back.
In the cargo variant. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, your base model. I think it's a hot tub, but it's your cargo space. And I can see that being an all-around ship because you do have that versatility of having that space available to you. But with the Super Hornet, that seems very much a dedicated fighter to me because it has really no utility other than the guns.
I would hope eventually, though, you could take off the ball turret off the Super Hornet and put the cargo thing on it, but
that bit's modular. So if you have the module, you can swap it.
I think the Super Hornet's the most versatile variant because you essentially get a whole second seat. You can still use it as a single seat fighter if you want to as well, because you can slave the turrets and stuff. And it just, I don't know, I just find it the better variant of the ones. I guess obviously when you've got a little bit extra weight, though, it won't quite fly as well as the others. But if you can only have one, it's the most versatile one because it just gives you the most flexibility. It's the one I would buy.
That's assuming that you can buy a cargo module for it.
You'd be able to get one in game, at the very least.
Yeah.
I'm
saying you can't currently, as far as I know.
Yeah. No. Yeah, but I'm talking end game. Or start of the game, whatever you want to call it. But for me, it's the most flexible of the lot, and I think it's probably one of the most flexible fighters because it sits right in the middle, and it's kind of like the Connie of fighters, so to speak. It's probably going to be one of the most all-rounder ones. We'll have to wait and kind of see. But I am kind of surprised it took longer to bring this one out, but obviously it had to have more physically. Like, it is technically a different ship, where the others are like more modular, like you kind of said about that. So yeah. Right, next question. Sis Ninja says, do you think that the Prospector interior will get updated to the Fortune's interior, minus the crafting panel, I'm guessing? What do you think about that one, Piggles?
I'm not so sure. That would be a fairly major redesign, and I haven't compared the models, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Fortune exterior model is ever so slightly different to accommodate that room, whereas the Prospector isn't. If you look at the back, it gets quite thin.
I think it'll be the parts that they share in common that will get updated. Sorry, sure. Yeah. And eventually all ships will get up. But it was the same in the Terrapan.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. Because again, when the interior changes drastically, they sometimes update things and sometimes they don't. So you just have to kind of wait and see. But like again, the exterior stuff, so is more on par with each other. And like I was saying about that lunar skin as an example, I would expect the Prospector to get a similar lunar skin because they could share them. Like they're very similar in how they work, and it's an exterior thing, not an interior thing. So. Radium TX says, question, is there another example of power creep because this new ship seems better than the Vulture in every way? Wow, I think that's a really big call when it's not out and you can't actively kind of test it yet, personally. I don't think it is more powerful. I think it's the same at the best. And I think you'll find that the Vulture will have other perks that this doesn't have. Like, straight off the bat, it essentially, as you're using it, it is putting its cargo to the outside. So if you get caught with your pants down before you can get the cargo inside, you're in trouble. So that whole time you're actively working, you're in trouble. You're at risk The Vulture doesn't have that problem at all. So I don't know. Do you see that weakness there, Piggles, with the exterior cargo and then having to unload it and put it inside versus what the Vulture just already has it inside?
Yeah, personally, I would much rather have internal cargo. It is more secure. However, I think unless your attacker is really coming at you with the aim to disable you, chances are you're going to have enough time to hit the burners and get out of there. And that's been a big theme I've seen with salvagers and miners recently, of stealthing out their ship so they can see your pirates coming before they have a chance to get close enough to really put a dent in you.
Now, I don't actually have it on Hanger Link, but if you actually look at it like this, you quickly start to realize just how much smaller. Like it really is a small versus a medium. And when you actually look at how they've laid out the landing pad sizes, why can I delete? No, I don't. Why can I delete ship labels? Chip label. All right, cool. But yeah, they're not in the same size class. Like, a lot of people would say yes, they are, right? But when it comes to landing pad sizes, I think this now falls into the medium, because again, by 3 meters, the way the pad size work, this is 3 meters too long. So yeah, and also like this, you can technically feed a Vulture into a Polaris as an example, but it's really difficult where the Prospector just fits. So, but by that analogy, the Fortune will fit. And when you take that all into account, it's going to be just a different beast. I don't know. Do you think that makes the Fortune better than the Vulture, or do you think they're just going to be different? I think they're going to be different, personally.
I think they're just different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each have their own benefits. Your Vulture, you've got your completely internal cargo grid, but you have to keep going down there to unload it. With the other one called Fortune, sure, your cargo's external, but I mean, I think it will move itself along. I haven't been able to confirm it, but the general sentiment seems to be people think it'll move itself along the grid, so you can go for longer before having to jump out the seat, head out there, and move it around.
Well, one of the other things that hasn't been talked about, and I don't know if we'll ever hear about this when it comes to the Misfortune, we'll obviously have to wait for the Q&A and see, but when you step out the side door on this, so on he can kind of turn off to the side and walk out and go down the ladder on the Vulture, there's actually a dispenser there for the blast charges to actually blow the ships apart so you can salvage them. There's nothing like that on the Prospector. Like, nothing. So does that have to go do blast charging as well? Like, how is that going to work? So that's a really big question that me and Margaret have. But there's really, we just don't have enough details yet, but it will come. But yeah, like this really does feel like a double up. And when we sat down with John and Ben, the thing that they made clear is they're still wanting to get a ship in every category of every size. So I'm still looking for the real confirmation of why this ship is different. And the only thing that me and Margaret have really came back to is the fact that it looks like it's land-based, where this is more planetary-based. And you got to remember, once they bring in that atmospheric flight model, this thing isn't going to be able to hover like that can. Like, that's got VTOLs. This has very minimalistic VTOLs. It's not designed to hover in atmosphere. And when you kind of take that into account, and the fact that the Fortune has got that lift and cargo lift, it tells me it's going to be landing a lot more than this one is. So I don't know. What do you think that me and Al are on track there with the base building or planetary salvage, or do you think we're off the mark?
I mean, I'd struggle to ascribe it being planet based in terms of use. However, I do absolutely see the benefit of wanting to use that in a gravity well over the Vulture, because you do have those fucking like big old VTOL engines, and it's not. We don't have atmospheric flight right now, but gravity is still a factor, and it is still used when calculating the flight model at the moment. So, I mean, the best example I can think of is load up. I've got to think of a ship now. Load up. Find an event, Nick and Idris, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Load it up with cargo. Load it up with as much as you can, but don't put it in VTOL mode, and you will see that it will not fly up in atmosphere. It's too heavy without that VTOL, and that's kind of what the your proper VTOL thrusters are meant to solve.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good to have another salvage out there. It essentially puts mining pretty much behind salvage in a way. You know what I mean? Like with 3 ships to 2, so to speak. So it's just interesting where it's gone. And I've had a few people asking me questions about will salvage be tied in with refining as well, and I think it will, but it's really going to come down to the materials. And the way me and Aaron were talking about it is like you could have a metal sheet panel that's almost pristine, and then you could have like an absolute mangled wreckage, right? So are you going to go to the trouble of salvaging something that's pretty decent and can be used again, but then a mangled wreckage really needs to be scrapped and redone? So it's going to be dependent on, and you've also got other liquids and gases that you're going to take out of these ships as well. So
yeah.
Right. All right. Next question. Swift Werewolf. Just going to tick that one because I haven't ticked any of them. F7CM Super Hornet Heartseeker Mark 1. Do you think they will see it next month, one last time, or will CG skip the release for the Mark 2 instead? Actually, that's a really good point. I think that's
the Heartseeker Mark 2 is in there, is in the PTU patch.
I think that's when we're getting the Super Hornet. Or makes sense, yeah? Do it on Valentine's Day with the reintroduction of the Heartseeker.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I think you're kind of onto a point there, Swift Wolf. Or Swift Werewolf. I think you unintentionally answered your... Well, yeah, you made me think about it, so I don't know. Let us know in chat if you think that's kind of where it's coming, because I don't know. Makes sense. Right, we're down to about 10 questions, so if you want to get some more in, please, I really would appreciate it. Really hard to... I've got to drum questions out of people. Normally you don't have to drum questions out of people, they just come pouring in. Right, this is from Call Me Teacher, says, with the current state of 4.0 and how little difference the bug fixes have made in the 4.01 patch, do you think Safe Stanton Chapter 2 should stay or be removed for stability's sake? To be honest, I think that there's been some big changes in the patches. Like, yes, sometimes there's more bugs that come in, but they have been fixing a lot of stuff. Like, we'll put it this way, I couldn't do any cargo hauling missions at all in the 4.0 preview, and I can do that in the PTU patch.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to remember as well is sure bugs may be introduced in the PTU, but since the 4.0 preview dropped, there's been lots of hot fixes, but there's some things that you just can't do without a client update, without a server update, and that means bumping up the version. That means a new patch. And I think the majority of the improvement that would come from going to a 4.0.1 patch, obviously there's the mid P2 bug fixes, content updates, and everything, but it's those issues from our first release of 4.0 that just couldn't be implemented without a client update.
Yeah, I agree. Some Assistant Ninja says, is the the Hornet Mark II Heartseeker in the Lex 2? Yeah, I think you said that, didn't you?
I don't think they put a video out, but it's in the game. So.
Yeah, I don't have a picture of the skin either. So
it's a skin with a different layout. There's not really a whole lot going on there.
Yeah, there's no pictures that I can see anyway. So yeah, all right, wait and see for me. But yeah, if you say it's there, I'll trust you. Right, Corby Teach says, with the no, we did that one already. Socially confused. Is there a gun rack or suit locker in the Fortune? I didn't see either. Is there a gun rack or suit locker? No, there is not. And I would have thought they would have put a suit locker in based on the fact that it's very external, but also there's not a suit locker on the Vulture either. So, there is a about the Prospector. No, there's not one in the Prospector either. So yeah. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a suit locker on that, especially if it's so land-based. So, yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts on a suit locker or gun rack? But the gun rack, not so much because it's a utility vehicle, though, yeah, Piggles?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'd say there is, maybe a small rack for the purposes of holding a multi-tool
True.
might be handy. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a small one that's like hidden, tucked away somewhere.
Maybe there's
suit locker. Yeah, suit locker wise, the general setup of the ship, especially with the kind of side-mounted cargo with the conveyors and all of that, it strikes me as the kind of ship that the designer would intend you to not really get out of unless you're at a landing zone.
Yeah, or you're actually using you know what suit you're going to be wearing when you leave, so you put it on before you leave.
Yeah, it's a thing like that. It's a ship to do a job, and either you're going out with a suit or you're not. But I don't think the general design intention is for you to juggle things around.
Yeah, you're not really going to be in a suit of armor or anything. You're going to be in your work clothes, and you're going to be in your work suit getting in and out. So you just have one suit. So it's not one where you need to change frequently. Right. Oh, here's a good one. Socially Confused says, what do you think will be the cost of the new Super Hornet? Sadly, do you want to have a stab at that one first?
I haven't got a clue. I haven't looked at it. I can't even remember how much the base Hornet Mark II cost.
It went up $50.
So how much does the base Hornet Mark II cost?
It was it's like 175, and it went up from I think it was from like 135 or 125 to 175.
250.
Yeah, so you're going from 185, you'd be going up to like 235, which puts it in similar price points to Scorpiuses and Antares.
I think you're in that range. Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, I think that's where you are. It's not a heavy fighter though either. It's just a medium fighter. That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I think at 235, it's too expensive. Like, you're literally looking at Raelians, Corsairs, Connies, MSR territory, and I think the whole point of what me and Arg have been saying, or Inforunners has been saying for years in general, is about fighters are really expensive. They're just proving our point. And it really blows my mind. Like, to give you another example, you've got things like Eclipses, F8Cs, and they're literally in the same price bubbles as Redeemers and Paladins. And if you were going to go... You see my point, right? Like, it's a single-seat fighter versus, like, a 4-person gunship. Like, I don't know about you, I'd be taking the gunship any day of the week.
From a business point of view, the fact is with fighters is they are cool and they sell, and
yes,
and that's why you can get away with that pricing.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. The other thing with combat, though, that we kind of learned from Citizen Con and talking to Ben and John, was because combat already works, right? And they basically said as the functionality of ships come in, their price will go up. Combat ships just automatically work, so they cost more straight off the bat. So things like salvage and mining, as that comes in, you'll see that. Well, again, you've seen the Vulture go up in price. It went, what was it, 235 to 275?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. What's your? I didn't ask you that. What do you reckon your price is going to be on the Fortune, by the way? And I'll give you a couple of things for the ballpark. 175 in the Vulture. 155. 155 in the Prospector. You're going to be exactly the same price as the Vulture.
Oh. So the Vulture's 175.
Yeah.
Prospector's 150.
Yeah, 155.
I'm putting it in the 170 to 190 range.
Yeah.
Maybe if you really want to call it as a lower tier than the Vulture, 160, 155.
Yeah,
but to be honest, from what I know of it, I don't think it's a lower tier. I think it's more of a side grade.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think me and Agrid are hoping it's a lower tier, but we're picturing 165. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But we're hoping it's cheaper, because if it's 165, that's just right up the butt of the Vulture. But we're as I said, we're hoping it's a lower tier, but then also it goes up in price because it's a Miss Not Drake. So that's why we've kind of stopped at 165. But We'll see. Yeah, but we are hopeful of. See, like Socially Confused is saying he's hoping 125. That makes. I wouldn't rule that out either. To be honest with you, we'll have to wait and see. Right. Another question from Socially Confused who says, "What do you think the new Super Hornet will cost?" Oh wait, no, that was the one we just did. God damn it! I'm reading them twice. We've got to start. See, I'm used to Agrid ticking them all off. That's what he does. It's anything that he can do that I don't do. Hey, replacement Agrid. Do you want to start ticking the? No. Right. NATO. Rayo says price range speculation on Super Hornet. Well, we just did that one. People asking the same question, but again, great minds think alike, I guess. So Citizen Ninja says, did you watch the 2-minute Arena Commander commercial I linked in your Discord? No, I haven't, and I can't bring it up on YouTube because every time we play a video, they just shut streams down and they do stuff. So we've just learned not to watch videos here. YouTube is a lot more harsh on it than Twitch is, unfortunately. Socially Confused says, do you think that the Fortune has been different enough from the Vulture? Well, that is a good question, actually. Do you think it's differential enough, Piggles, or do you think it's too similar?
Yeah, they both have the same role, but it's a fundamentally different design. So in terms of being different ships beyond just being different manufacturers, yeah, I do think they are different enough to warrant it being a separate ship.
Yeah, I think with me and Agrid wanting it to kind of be a planetary-based salvage, that's us telling you that we want it to be more different. It just seems too similar. And so we like knowing when we talked to Ben and John about how they wanted to have different things and categories, we keep deliberately looking for things that make them different. And a lot of other people come out and say, oh, it's just another salvage vessel. And if that's what it is, that's what it is, right? But going on what we were told, we just assume it has to have some kind of massive difference. And there are differences like the external salvage collection and the lift at the back and some other things. But I'm just trying to look for an existence reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, they both have their benefits and drawbacks. And I think that, in my mind, that's enough to differentiate them. But you clearly have a higher bar than I do there.
Yeah, Cyberwolf74 is a first-time chatter on Twitch who basically says how cars are basically the same car in real life. So he's saying like Hyundai, Toyota, etc. all have SUVs and sedans. It is a little bit like that, yeah. So you can look at one that's kind of like yeah, I think the SUV sedan thing kind of covers it for me. They are different approaches to a similar thing. That I think we'll agree that's the absolute minimum, the difference between them. But I'm hoping there's something else for it to exist, not just yeah. I want a reason for it to exist. That might be hoping on my part, but we'll see in the next week, hopefully. Right, down to about 10 questions again. We're flying through them a lot more. It's because Agrid talks for a lot longer. You need to talk more, Pickles. You're not talking enough.
I can get my point across. I don't need to.
Yeah, I know. You're like me. We're just besides.
I'm also bunged off as hell right now. So
you're what?
It's not. I think I've got a cold or something.
Oh dear.
I sound a little funny. Yeah.
You sound totally normal to me, but yeah. Okay, so this is from Socially Confused. He said this is just a statement question. I think he says the Fortune seems to be scraping focus versus an all-round salvage like the Vulture. What's our opinion on that? So he's saying it's more like taking the skin than the. I wonder if that is the actual difference. You just can't do blasting with this. Well, that would be
the whole munching. Yeah.
Yeah, like if this is only for scraping, that would be massive difference.
I don't. I need to look. I need to look in the data core to work it out. I mean, from pictures, I only really see like that little utility head, right?
Yeah, but it's the same on the Vulture. The Vulture has the same heads and everything.
But it's got those big arm things, though. I think this is something that would need a little bit more investigation. I think I need to.
Yeah, there's moving.
Take a look and find out.
Well, for example, there's no munching part on this, right? So the Vulture's got that big drum thing, and the Reclaimer's obviously got the big room that it chops all the shit up in. There's nothing on this that does that. How does this actually actively take in the hull? There is no way to do that. He's got a really good point.
And if that was the case, that would be a fairly solid argument for it being a tier down from the Vulture as well.
Yeah. I think you just stumbled on something socially confused. Well done. Great. That's the differential I was looking for. I hope, I don't know, have a stew on that, guys, and come back to me. Is there anything you've seen on that from the video that's out there? We've only got that to really work on, but I don't see anything that's got munching capabilities. No claw, no the drum cutting up stuff. See when you look at the if I can, let me just bring it up for a second. It'll take me a hot second to bring it up. Wasn't it? It's called the Misfortune, isn't it? Misfortune Citizen. That one. And then you go to this one, and then you go to this one, and is this it? Yeah, this is it. Right. So this image here, right? This is obviously was the concept when it came out, and there's two things that are on this that are not in the final version. Right here, that is a tractor beam. See how it's got the little radar dish, little almost like a TV aerial. So right there, that's a tractor beam. This is obviously the head. What the hell is this? Right? And what me and Agrid reckon that was the thing that was going to blast it apart. So it didn't use blast charges. It had some kind of different thing. And guess what? That's just not on. Like, you go look at the video. It's do I still have it open? Yes, I do. It's just not on the front of the ship. It's just gone.
Yeah, no, there's a gun there.
Oh, there's a gun. But what I'm saying is
that's where you're pointing.
I guess you could say. So they put the guns.
It's moved back a bit. Yeah, there's a gun there.
Look, I could give you that argument, but again, if I go to this image, where's this thing then?
Those are just the lights. It's redesigned slightly, but the lights are still there as well.
So you reckon that's a light? Look how far out that sticks out, bro. Like
it's a ridiculous. I agree. It looks ridiculous, like, but if you go back, back to the video.
Hang on. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But look, it's as wide as my hand out, right? And I go back to the video. No fucking way, bro. That's cut off. No, but look at the whole shape of the front. It's a significantly reprofiled section of the ship. I mean, that front engine forward is completely different. Let me have. Well, again, I think it might be something changed between concept. I want to open that image that I sent to Grim. Just give me a minute to open that, because I sent him 3 images that I took that had them all side by side comparison. So this one's a good one. That's one, right? So that. You can see there I'll agree with you, the lights change, right? So you got your 3 little circles here, and then you've got the flat panel light up the top.
Yeah, that's your prospector.
Right.
But I'm talking about look at the concept of the Fortune compared to the in-game Fortune.
Yeah, so
it's a completely reprofiled front end.
I think in a really weird way we're agreeing. I'm saying that something changed between concept, because this is an image. This is not an in-game. That looks like an image to me, not an in-game photo.
Yeah.
I think that's a concept. I think someone took a photo of the prospector and then drew over the top of it.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I just think that whole front end is a different shape entirely. Those lights look ridiculous. I think a designer looking at those would go, those lights are ridiculous, and that's why they've been brought back to be flush with the cockpit.
Yeah, but the light is actually there in the concept. Look, it's right there. But look, there's the light right there.
Yeah, that's what you were pointing at. There's one on both sides.
No, look how far out that comes, bro. That is a completely different thing.
Yeah, that's because it's sticking forward. They're on little like strut things.
Okay, all right. We'll agree to disagree, because I just do not. So you're telling me you reckon those lights rotate?
No, they are. I guarantee they're static.
What the fuck is that, bro? What is this?
A design that was changed and rejected. Those are lights. I'm 99% sure of it.
So we can agree, whatever this was, not saying what it is, whatever it was cut. Is that can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're on the same page in different forms. All right, that's fine.
Oh well, it's still there, just put under the cockpit, because that whole structure isn't on the ship anymore.
I think the original design, like you said, would have been to take the guns and put tractor beams here instead. I think that was what that was, and then I think that's obviously changed somewhat. The other thing is, could the loadout change before it goes live?
It absolutely could. To get to this point where it's in game and flying,
not likely though.
It's very unlikely. I've only seen it happen maybe once or twice in what year is it? In the 7 years I've been data mining the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. So Citizen Ninja says it's just CIG messing up the concept pick, not the first time. And yeah, I'd agree with that too. We've had a few order picks come through that don't line up with the final model. Yeah. Yeah, but I think you kind of stumbled on something there that we missed. Socially confused. I just can't see it. Where's the munching part? I wonder if there's something on top of the ship or something like that. But then you'd need a tractor beam. Maybe you have to break it up with some kind of tool. I don't know. I've got so many questions now. How the hell does this thing work?
I mean, it's a hull scraping head and a cargo grid.
Well, see, that's what I thought. So Northend Trooper said those rectangles are the disintegration beam. That's what we originally thought it was that, or a tractor beam or something like that. But now it's not on here, or not on the ship anywhere. How does it break things apart? It's a really big question. It's like socially confused, hit the nail on the head. It just becomes a scraper. And that's way lower down the totem pole than what the Vulture does. Way lower. Like, it's going to be annoying because you're going to turn up, well, in a way, you're going to turn up to one and it's going to be scraped. So I guess if you had it working with another ship, the other ship could just be eating the holes and you're just scraping it off. I guess that's useful? Is that how you'd see it, Piggles? Like, this thing's just scraping things so the other thing can be munching them, like essentially speeding it up?
It's a different use case, really.
Yeah.
You can go more specialized into the whole scraping and be more proficient at that compared to an all-rounder.
All right. Yep. I don't know, it's just interesting. All right. Next question is from, that was socially confused. Cool. Shit, where the hell were we up to? I've lost my way. Yep. How far do you think we'll be sort of socially confused again? How far off do you think we will be from getting items removed from 4.0? See, I just removed the handyman missions. How long off do we think we're getting items removed from? They're removing items in 4.0?
Are you speaking about missions or actual?
Well, he says
physical items, because the thing with missions is they can be in the patch, they just don't spawn, and CIG can control that. So it's very much a case of, we see this mission is causing problems, we'll disable that for a couple of weeks just to see if it improves, and it's things like that. And there are missions that are in the patch that I don't think have been enabled yet. So it's stuff like that. So it's not a case of not being in the game. It might genuinely just be a case of the PU team not wanting the testing focus to be on them quite yet.
So he says in chat, he says engineering, etc. So do you think if we're getting items removed from 4.0 in regards to engineering?
I wouldn't see engineering being too far in the distant future. It is a system you can go in Arena Commander test flight right now and play with it. It's not something that's a million miles away. It strikes me as more of an integration issue than an actual systems problem.
Yeah. I kind of still don't understand the question, honestly. So it's a little bit out of context for me. Removing items.
I think he means, do you think we are close to getting the cut content from 4.0, but
oh, right. Not in this patch, no. I think this is a fixed patch to get it to what it wanted to be at Christmas time. All right. Radium TX says, I've never flown a Super Hornet. Would the F7A Mark II with one pilot outgun a Super Hornet Mark II with only one pilot? Guns are pretty much on par, but it's a massive advantage to have someone in a turret that can shoot sideways or backwards. So, as opposed to one pilot, like when you're on your 6, you can't shoot backwards. So
Turrets also get their own capacitor as well.
Yeah. So, you know, 2 heads are better or 1. You're working together. You got that teamwork making the dream work. Like yeah, 2 people die though, but you increase your odds if you're working together. You know, like you can be working on the MFDs, fluctuating the shields and stuff like that. You just can't quite do that to the same level on your own. You know, you've got twice as many fingers doing the same job.
That's why 2-man fighters like the Hurricane and Scorpius do so well.
Yeah,
because you've got 2 sets of guns, essentially 2 sets of capacitors. So you're not fighting each other for power. So not only can you shoot in other directions that the ship might not be able to maneuver to hit, but you can also put down more firepower before you need to recharge.
Yeah, I think the other thing also is you're probably looking at the Super Hornet. It's more armor based than some, like say the Hurricane, for example. The Hurricane is going to be a lot more of a glass cannon.
It's very much pictured as a kind of boom and zoom type ship.
Yeah, so this thing will, I don't know, I kind of take, I'm not saying it is in lore, but I get the feeling because it's a lot more armor-based ship seems to be older in lore, not all of them, but it just gets me that kind of feeling, like it's the older style. Let's be honest, it's the original ship the whole game was built around. It was the first ship they ever physicalized, which was way back in the Kickstarter campaign. So it is the older ship in the game. It's just the way it is. Right. What are we up to? Astro Otter says, question. Not sure if it's been asked, but do you think the buffer in the Fortune is 13 SCU shared for either side of the 13 SCU side, making it a 26 sided buffer? I think honestly, it's probably 1 in the buffer and 12. And I mean that because obviously the cargo grid they found back earlier in the file said 12. And if you look at that cargo area, it literally looks like it's got 2 rows of 6. So 6 SCU times 2 is 12. I think maybe it's a bug in the buffer and it really should say 12, but yeah, I don't know. How
I'd agree with you.
Yeah, it puts in line. It puts in line with the Vulture and the Vulcan as well. They both have 12 as well.
And this is something that we can pull up the data core record and check as well.
Yeah. Hey Lemming, just noticed you in chat. How you doing, man? Are you there, Lemming?
Hello.
What are you up to? Did you want to say something or?
No, I was just gonna add more because Piggles and you are both to the point. So.
Yeah, go for it. But what do you want to
add? Nothing now. When the next topic comes up, then I'll just chime up.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Radium TX says, question, functional suit lockers when? That's a really good question, because the closest functional one I think we've kind of seen was in the Squadron 42 trailer where he changed his gear and stuff. But what do you actually get for that you can't kind of get from a storage locker at the moment? I think it's a priority problem. I don't think it's a high priority. Because you can essentially get it from suit lockers and just the cargo storage, can you not?
I think it's a quality of life feature, which is one of the things that they're working on this year. So, to have like a kit that you have put together that you could just go to a suit locker and just put on as a kit, I think that's huge.
I think that I agree with you. That will be the advantage. Yes, I will give you that. Piggles, would you agree on that one?
Yeah, I see it being helpful, a nice quality of life feature. But yeah, in terms of the actual suit lockers, we see on the like a lot of us think of, you have your suit lockers on your ships. They strike me as very much more of a storage solution, where you run on the ship and you can just switch between a set of armor, your regular clothes, things like that. And to be honest, realistically, yes, it'll save you 15 to 20 seconds of dragging and dropping from like maybe a box in your cargo hold or a storage container on the ship.
Yeah.
So if I was
could be good in an emergency though, like
maybe, but if I was the guy doing the planning, setting the task priorities, it would be so far down on the list.
Yeah, it feels a lot further down for me. But again, as you said, if it is a quality of life thing, I don't know. I just don't know where it sits, because to me, it doesn't seem very high priority.
So it matters how quickly they're going to take away the ability to fly in heavy armor. So
True.
if they
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
So if they're taking that away soon, then the lockers are vital, because you're going to need heavy armor to. I mean, it's night and day if you go out there in heavy armor and no armor.
So how is that different to putting your armor in a storage box on the ship? I don't mean buying a box and putting it on a cargo grid. I mean an actual locker on board the ship. Yeah, I know you save a little bit of time by just having it ready to go and swapping, but realistically, in the grand scheme, that's not that much time.
Yeah,
and in terms of a developer implementation time it's a fair investment for not a whole lot of return.
I tend to agree. The resources could be better spent elsewhere. It's you don't get a benefit for the output of the resources required.
I mean, I agree. I would love it, but
I would love it. But it
from a pragmatic point of view, in that a products are being developed, I don't see it being a good use of resources until the high priority stuff gets ticked off.
Yeah, like I can't even give an example of something that would be around the same time to make, because I don't know how long it's going to take to do. But like, as soon as something is higher in priority, it just becomes really obvious that you're going to get more for what you're spending. I think that's the problem. There's not enough gain from the time it takes to do that, and I think that's probably why they haven't been done already. But yeah,
I can agree with that.
Yeah, that's good insight though, because I actually think the loadout thing. I don't know about you guys, but the suit loadouts for me, because they essentially speed up the switching of gear, it's going to be the combat ones that are really beneficial. Like Lemming was saying, especially when you can't wear your heavy armor. Just being able to run up, press a button instantly, and you're, like 5 seconds, you're in your full set of heavy armor gear, and you're in combat. That's going to be massive. You're not going to want to be, you don't want that panic of going, oh shit, do I have this? Do I have that? Do I have my med pens on me and all that? It's just all there, and it just auto loads on you. And knowing you've got everything and off you go is going to be essential. I don't know. I'm trying to think of it like why. Medical would be another one, but I just can't see why I'd quickly want to get into my mining gear. You see what I mean?
So with the changes to EVA and not all armors having EVA capabilities.
Oh yeah, true.
In the very near future, I can see like a requirement for like an engineer on a ship to be able to quickly change in from their inside engineer gear,
so repairing
to an EVA suit.
Yeah. So like the medical for the ship. Yeah. No. Okay. I get that. No. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. What are some other ones that you can think of though? Like I'm thinking like it's all emergency related, is it not? Like a quick change situation. I'm trying to think of anything. They're the only ones I can really think of. Like it's emergency. Like it's when you need to change into something super quick. And again, like going back to the suit locker that someone asked earlier on the Misfortune. I just can't see there being an emergency situation where you need to put more salvage shit on.
Well, this is an emergency situation, but when fire gets implemented, that's going to cause a lot of emergencies. So I can see like having to get into a firefighting suit incredibly quickly as being huge.
Yeah, I'll give you the firefight suits. That's an emergency one as well. We've actually talked about, me and Algrid and Badgers actually talked about a firefighting ship. The other one, I don't know if you remember this one, Piggles, was the an emergency. You know how you have a blowout where the sides of the ships can blow out and all the oxygen goes out, like an emergency resealing ship.
Yeah.
Don't know if that'll ever be a thing, but
it strikes me as such a hyper specialized use case that it might not be worth the time for it when other tools exist.
Well, also the World War II in space. It was just something we thought of. We were just like, I wonder if you could actually make a ship that reseals so you can go search other ships or rescue survivors or stuff like that. But Yeah, it is. It is pretty niche. I'll give you that.
I think that's the Vulcan.
How so?
It rolls up on scene, deploys a couple of drones that patch the holes that you're leaking through.
Oh, that you'd have to be so quick to be able to reseal. Like, think about how big a hole is. Like, you're talking like a torpedo-sized hole. That's a lot of resources for 3 drones to close up super quick before people choke to death. Or even like an emergency sealing thing, so it kind of comes up and just like shoots foam everywhere, and the foam seals it all up just so people don't die. But I could see it being doing on drones. Just maybe actually.
I wasn't quite following the path. I was thinking you wanted something that could just patch ships up, which I would argue any repair ship should be able to do. In terms of like an emergency hull reseal to kind of keep the atmosphere safe, I don't really see it, to be honest, unless you have like a really specialized onboard device to do it.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's like you said with the suit like this. There's a lot of work for not much gain.
Yeah.
So I see my error, but again, we do.
And the other thing to remember, is if you can blow a hole in a ship, say you've got a Starfarer, you blow a hole in that little escape pod room, behind the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, that's got no atmosphere. What you've done is you've locked the bridge off from the rest of the ship, and that is an opportunity to create interesting scenarios that could happen between maybe someone being stuck in the bridge and not being able to access the rest of the ship, maybe other people on board the ship not being able to get to the controls, things like that. And I think from a design point of view, that would be more important to me than having a device that I need a load of dev time to implement.
And also having suits that you wear in situations so when the atmosphere goes out, you've still got your suit on as well. That's the other way of sealing it. And also life pods themselves. So there are other ways around it.
And we saw that in the squadron gameplay. We had that the gunner guy he was wearing that helmet that kind of sealed up against space when he got blown out.
Yeah. Perfect example.
Yeah, so, it's emergency oxygen. Doesn't last long, but it's enough to give you a chance.
Just proving my whole point that speculation sessions don't always bear fruit. But I think the fire one may be a way to go in the future, especially with land-based stuff like vehicles and atmosphere. I think they will have fire trucks. And what happens when you have a planet and someone sets fire to the forest or jungle? Like the fires we've had in LA and the fires we have in Australia and stuff like that. That is so going to be... You can tell right now that they are going to put... If they've gone... Think about all the weather effects they've gone into the trouble of doing, the fire system they've made. If they don't make it so you can have these planets where wildfires happens, I would be so surprised. Because just think of that as an event. You want to save Lawville because all the trees are... I don't know. You need to pick another system that has a forest. But you know what I mean, right? That or the whole city gets taken out. Like, that sounds like an event to me, does it not?
It does, but I think it also hits a little bit too close to home for some people. I don't know if they'll do that.
Maybe.
Is it technically feasible to have an entire forest and city burning?
It is. It is technically able to pull it off, especially with the way the object containers and server mission works. No, I think like you might say it plays a little bit too close to home. But I think it also, in a way, it allows people to relate to people. If they're going through a fire themselves, even if it's virtual, when it then really happens in real life, you get desensitized to a lot of stuff that happens on the news. But a way to make it so you're sensitized to it is to kind of have it happen to you, but in a virtual sense. But I know that sounds really silly to say, but you actually think that through. If you can then relate to other people because you've gone through a virtual experience, does that not humanize it in a way that actually makes it acceptable? Well,
I know back when I was kind of playing Elite and kind of not, they had an event that like a system was lost and the space station was on fire and you had to like fly in and like eject your coolant in order to make it through, and so maybe but especially with the wildfires, I don't know if they'd go there.
Yes, maybe not when the fires are on, but like 3 years from now when there's nothing happen.
Yeah.
The other thing is like there's things that have happened in games that they wouldn't do like we've had the pandemic. Do you remember when they had that that virus thing in World of Warcraft where it transmitted, and everyone had that thing, and that was done as a test to see, so they could virally see what it was like to transmit disease and stuff. They actually did it for science, like they passed that data on to scientists. Now, they wouldn't do that when the pandemic was on. That would have been tone deaf. It's not about, you know, obviously you don't do those events when it's a bit tone deaf to do so. But again, in hindsight, if you did say 12 months from now, that's what I'm saying. I find that being able to relate to my fellow human being is a really strong thing to have. And one of the things that we, in the time that we live in, right, is very out of sight, out of mind. And an example I'll give you very typically is when you are talking to someone in text. Say you're talking to someone like a support person in text, and they are just dismissing you. But then you call them up, and it instantly humanizes it because they can hear the voice on the other end. They can hear the tone of your voice, and it literally changes and you get your problem solved instantly. That's what I'm trying to talk about. It allows you to relate to your fellow human being. It allows you to see you the horrific event that they've just gone through. It's not about gamifying or anything like that. It's allowing it so that you can empathize with your fellow human being. And I think that's really important. But if you don't think so, that's okay. That's how I see it, though. I don't know. Do you guys want to talk to that, or have I gone way off the mark?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. I did do this. Wolfwood's saying, well, this took a strange turn. Right. Yeah. No, look, I'm one of those people that think you learn from the past, right? You don't hide from it. You don't change it. You accept that it happened and go, how do we make it so that doesn't happen again? And whatever the problem was, right? So if it's fires, what happened with the fires? How would we stop that from happening again? What were the issues? How do we confront that? And then, you know, some of them are out of our hands, though, like natural disasters is obviously a tough one, but can you lessen the natural disasters? Anyway. Right, Call Me Teach says, question, how close do you think that we were to seeing the Caterpillar and the Ironclad? Drake Defense Con after Invictus being the prime spot for release. I got to think about that one for a minute.
I could talk about this one for a second.
Yeah.
So, if we don't see the Ironclad on an ISC by the end of February, there is precisely 0% chance that it comes out at Invictus.
So the other thing is, we know from Ben and John, it takes 18 months to do a ship. He knew that the Ironclad was in production not at last CitizenCon, but the CitizenCon before that. So that makes it would be exactly 18 months come Invictus. It's plausible. But I agree with what you said. If we don't have some kind of tip of the hat that it's coming, yeah. Piggles, what's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to go on here. I mean, if you guys think it's plausible, then that makes sense to me. I see, you know, I follow your thinking, and it does make sense. I have no idea what he's talking about with Caterpillar, though. I have to admit, I haven't been out of the loop.
Ironclad.
So you said Caterpillar and
it just threw you. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, well, they call it the Caterpillar because it's essentially almost exactly the same length, but just wider. So yeah. Let me open a hanger link. Do we even actually have a?
I mean,
no, I remember what it looks like. It's all right, but
yeah.
I mean,
there's not a whole lot.
So. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead.
There's not a whole lot of functionality in there, right? It's basically a cargo grid with wings. Your main input and work there is in, you know, working out that pile set almost.
Well, I assume they share a lot of assets in common. Let's be honest, they are very
naturally they would, but we have to remember the Caterpillar is by now a fairly old design.
Yes. So, and then these two go sideways. So,
and it absolutely wouldn't surprise me if this is intended to be it's like an exercise in, you know, what kind of work it'll be as a precursor to but
you can
putting
see
significant effort into the Kraken.
You can see that they share a lot of assets in common. Like the engines, you could say they change a little bit. Like
it's a similar design language.
Yeah, they're essentially very, very fucking similar. It's literally like they've just made it twice as wide. They're basically exactly the same height. The only thing that they really have to build, let's be honest, is that kind of cockpit area. This whole area along here on the Ironclad is just an empty room. There's not a lot to it. Like it really is all that section at the back that like under the cockpit. It's just a bunch of rooms. And again, already having the Caterpillar and some other assets, like you got to assume that there's not a lot to it. Put it this way, I think there's more work in making these cargo modules along here than there. And again, you got to remember these are all duplicated though, aren't they? There's 4 of them. Yeah, that's about the same time.
I think that's why we're getting the Ironclad as fast as we are, because it's less work than working on the Caterpillar.
Yeah.
I think the Caterpillar is just too small for what they want to do with it.
Well, even things that they talked about with the Caterpillar originally was it was meant to be the mothership people return to. That's the Kraken. You know.
Yep.
And I think what'll become the thing with this ship is its versatility, but because, as you said, it's now too small, it just won't be versatile enough. You know, so you'll probably get a module in here somewhere that's a chop shop. How's a module that big gonna compare to, say, a Fortune or a Vulture? You know what I mean? Like, it just, how does that work? You know what I mean? It's just not going to be big enough. You're going to have a chop and a shop. You're going to have a scraper one, and do you know what I mean? Like, it's not big enough.
Yeah, I've almost lost all hope for the Caterpillar. So
I'm getting to the point where it really needs a reconcept. And again, them being the same size, can't you all of a sudden look at this and go, geez, I wonder if they could just make that one big room modular. There's your entire chop shop, an ironclad chop shop. As an example.
Yeah. So I've thought this for a long time, that the Caterpillar won't be 4 small modules, that it'll be 1 large module.
I agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
But a lot of people don't like it when I say that. So
no, a lot of people don't like that either. But we also, like, again, when we talked to John and Ben, they literally said if you actually made this with every single combination with the current tech the game has, you'd have to have over 220 versions. So they actually have to go in and make tech so you can actually have the individual modules. But by that same token, I think you hit the nail on the head. The ship is too small from what they're trying to get it to do. You got to remember, this is from Kickstarter. The Caterpillar was the first ship I think they showed in concept at one of the very first anyway at Kickstarter. And it's just a holdover from an older time, and it didn't grow in size like the Crucible or the Endeavor or other ships that got reconcepted. And so now when you add a reconcept factor under this, it needs to grow. And honestly, it's already a very long ship. How do you grow it? Well, that's how you get the Caterpillar. It goes sideways.
Yep.
And again, like you said, it's going to 1 module, not multiples. I don't know. That's just the way my brain works. I actually think they should just tell everyone that's got a Caterpillar that they get a Drake, they get an Ironclad for free. Like, just convert it over, retire this thing, or at the end of the day, all it'll ever be is a cargo ship. But when we talked to Ben and John, they said they still have plans to finish this thing. So
it's just gonna have to. It's too thin. Like it needs bulk. It needs help.
Piggles, you're a bit quiet there. Share your thoughts with us on the Caterpillar, please, bud.
They generally follow 2 different use cases, in my opinion. You know, your Caterpillar, especially with your bulkheads in between your different cargo modules, modularity and mix matching, of course. But it represents a much more sort of segregated opportunity for, you know, separating cargo, keeping certain things safe from other things. Your Ironclad strikes me as very much you want to carry one big thing or a few big but not quite as big things as eloquently as that can be put. And obviously you can still use both of them for cargo, but there's a lot more non-profits generating space in your ironclad compared to something like your caterpillar. Yeah, that results in bigger fuel bills, bigger maintenance costs, things like that.
Look, at an absolute baseline minimum, and I can't quite remember this, so if I get this wrong, I apologize. But from what I remember, this thing holds 24 SU cargo containers from side to side. I think the minimalistic upgrade you could possibly ever do to this thing is 32 SU containers from side to side. So it's got to become wider by a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely fine, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having a smaller ship for the job. Say if you don't need 32 SU containers.
I don't know. Maybe that's just the thing that they want for the Caterpillar too. They just want it to be the 24 SCU container cargo ship. But yeah. Things like the walkway as well. Like I think the walkway is a real holdover. Why would you want to you could walk through the center of the ship, but also there's a walkway literally just right above it. You'd have one or the other. You wouldn't have both, right? So they either keep the catwalk or lose the catwalk and put in more cargo. So
well, it's possible to block up the ground floor doors, isn't it, with cargo? So it's not like So it's not like you have two walkways. It's one's more convenient to use, but if there's cargo, then you still need some way to get through, and that's what the catwalk is.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess. Look, I'll give you that one. I don't know. Were you going to say something, Lemming?
Yeah. So I challenged myself during stage 1 of Save Stanton to do. I think it was step 4 with the Caterpillar versus with a C2, and man, it was rough in the cat.
All right, so I'm going to do a poll. I'm just going to call it Ironclad at Invictus, just so we can get a consensus. See what everyone's thinking. Crowdsource this. Let me send the
and to say I would love for CIG to get into a cadence of Ironclad is this year's Invictus ship. Okay, it comes out next Invictus. Okay, the Zeus is this year's Sitcon ship. Okay, it comes out next Sitcon. I would love for them to do that. I just don't know if they will.
Yeah. All right. So, that's interesting. We're at 57% on YouTube. We're at 100%, but there's only been 3 votes on Twitch. I'll listen to your thoughts. We'll go back to that in a minute. All right. In the meantime, I think we'll move on to the next question. So next question is, if I can find it. Socially Confused says, what is the benefit of the second seat in the Super Hornet? A turret, a second seat in the tracker makes more sense to me. Pilot to fly and fly back. Yeah, I actually agree. I think it does make a lot more sense because you can allow the person to actually do command and control things. But again, by that same token, you should. They were going to make it modular, but I don't think they've done that anymore. It's only that top cargo turret bit that can be changed. But it would have been really cool to see a 2-seater tracker. I would agree with you on that one. Actually, they won't do it now because they've already sold it. But that would have been how I would have done it. I would have made it so the tracker's a Super Hornet variant and not a Hornet variant. I don't know. What do you guys think about that one?
I think the idea really was to generally stick to the same idea as the original Hornets in terms of actually creating the variant. So I didn't think there was really a chance in making it a 2-seater version. But I do see the advantage of that. You do have your pilot and your operator essentially in the back. But as essentially a command and control or data gathering ship, generally you're using it in one of 2 scenarios. You're sat slightly behind the front line, gathering information, transmitting it to everything, or you're going in before like a large assault or some other event happening, and the idea is you're trying to do that undetected or just trying to keep yourself from being shot at, and that's really a data gathering exercise there. So yeah, I can see the benefit, but I can also see where it isn't needed.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. What about you, Piggles? Sorry, not Piggles. Lemming. What do you see the real advantage of the turret being in the Super Hornet over the normal Hornet?
So I just want to say that I was wrong about the Hornets. I thought that they weren't going to make variants of the Hornet. I thought they were going to make the Hornet Mark II and then make a module for the tracker and for the Ghost. Mm-hmm. So you could turn the base into either of them.
I think that's eventually.
I think it is still a module that you can swap. It's just they are different ships.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Well.
So
Sorry, just real quick. The polls finished on Twitch, so it was 78% said yes. On YouTube, just ending it now, it's literally 50-50, a direct split. So yeah, have to wait and see. I think Hopium says Invictus. The other people, they've been burnt too many times. I'd kind of agree with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't get my hopes up. I'll just put it that way. That if you have an ironclad, don't hold your breath for it to come out in Invictus. If it does,
pray for
freaking awesome.
Pray for Invictus, but be prepared to be disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, you were saying about the turret and the Super
Hornet. So when the Antares came out, people were getting pitchforks out for the button in the co-pilot. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they wanted that drama with the tracker. So I think that's maybe why they did it that way, because the person would sit back there with a button. Personally, I think the button is good because the button allows you to have somebody else on board that is going to be able to manage your pips, going to be able to manage
what they're doing.
Your power management.
They're doing your shields and power management. They're taking over those tasks, but they're just not in yet. So at the moment, it's just like the monkey presses the switch.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah.
So I would like it. Again, I just wish that they would have done more with the module type on the Hornet. That way, like the tracker module would work on both the Super Hornet and the regular Hornet, rather than the specific tracker ship. So I don't know what they're thinking.
It is a modular slot.
Okay.
So there is definitely capacity. Can they be switched out? I seem to remember people putting a tracker in the stealth or Ghost after it came out. I don't know if you still can.
I think it did originally, but I think kind of. I don't know. I'm going to leave it as.
They locked it down.
Yeah, I don't know if they've locked it down. You got to realize, from a developer point of view, everything's modules, right? It's just what they turn on and turn off for us. So again, I think I'll wait to see where it lands. But honestly, it'd be really cool to have that flexibility. And like we were saying before, I can only imagine a Super Hornet that you could turn into a tracker or a Ghost. That would be just sick. It just makes but if it's too powerful from a balance point of view, here's this ship that does all this shit. Why would anyone buy any other ship? So you got to start to look at it like that too. They've probably realized leaving things open too much makes it too good, and people don't go to other things. So why would I ever fly a Saber? And I'm just not saying why. I'm just trying to give an example. Yeah.
What I'm saying modularity wise is, sure, it looks different, but it's not a different model. Like, it's not like you go into your 3D editing software and you change it. It's actually on a hard point, and we can edit that.
Yeah. I think that's another thing that someone in the Antares, you could also be firing missiles on the MFDs eventually and stuff like that. There's just none of that functionality is in yet. So it's like people that complain when they nerf the Corsair, right? Because they made it so it wasn't slaved. But you eventually were able to do that. You could have all the guns on the pilot, or you could have them all separate. That's what the MFDs will actually get. You could literally fly out from engineering if you wanted to, right? That's the flexibility that all ships will eventually have. It's just not there now. and that's inherent the problem. It show and another point of that is this next question, right, is going to be exactly the same thing. So I'm going to read this one and we're going to answer it because it's actually very poignant to what I'm about to talk about. So this is from Jay Grizz, who says, how do you feel about the CIG falsely advertising the Polaris with a hangar that can refuel, repair, and resupply a small ship, and after this it was pointed out in Spectrum, CI deleted that portion? That's a cart before the horse problem, because hangars don't do that yet, but they will eventually. You will be able to take. Why do you reckon there's cargo lifts there that go up to the and down from the hangar bay? Because that's obviously you can take the cargo down, but also you can bring parts back up to repair the ships. There are refueling ports going on all the ships. There'll eventually be some kind of hose, and there's ports and stuff on the wall that you'll eventually be able to put a fuel line over and refuel them. And ammo and resupply is just cargo as well, much like the parts. It's just not there yet. You've got to have all the pieces before these things work.
The issue we have here, and I think what has really split the opinion is how do you define refuel, repair, and rearm? Because you've got two options here. One is you go on a pad, you open your overglass, and you click go like we do in stations, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that could be one way of looking at it.
Well,
the issue is if you're not specific, you can either that, or you can land in a hangar, you pop down the cargo bay, you bring up weapons, you bring up ammunition, you put that in.
But can I just say, and I know I'm interrupting you, right? But it's like what cargo was, what cargo is now. Used to just get in and cargo go boop, and it was on your ship. And then and then you'd fly off, right? And that's what hangars were. You came into a hangar, you just clicked a button and waited for a couple of minutes. That's not what it's going to be. You're going to have to physically get out, connect the hose to your ship, and wait for the fuel to transfer across. You're going to have to actually pull the guns off, put new guns on. You're going to have to put, load the ammo in. You're going to have to put the batteries in for the laser. Like we are going to a fully manual system. That's why they don't do this in games. They just shorthand it all, and it's just like click. But we wanted that fidelity. That's the fidelity that they've been talking about all these years. Like actually doing this shit, not just. And even then, it's like a shorthand version of what we do in real life. But that just makes it deeper and more immersive. That's why we're going to this, because that's what we were sold. And I think, sorry, I had to say that because. Just what you were saying there, like that's what it was, and what we're going to is vastly different. But sorry,
no, what I'm saying is, you've got those two options, you've got those two possibilities, and off the top of my head, I don't think they did a proper announcement, which is, to be fair, pretty poor. They mentioned it in like a comment in a thread or something stupid like that. But if you're going to do that, you're going to say this is how it's going to work. Sure, it might not be there now. But this is how it's going to work, and we're not using this system for this reason. You need to be clear from the outset, otherwise you end up with, I call it the No Man's Sky problem. You're tight-lipped, you don't talk about it. Everyone builds up these expectations of what something's going to be. So by the time that this thing comes out, you don't have, or you end up with a ton of unhappy people because it's not what they expected, because you didn't communicate properly. And that's absolutely a failure on CIG's part, and that's something that they should be better on. And they have had plenty of experience of failures in the past.
I think a lot of it,
been better on that.
But they used to have on every single page ships subject to change because of development and stuff like that. But then as they went forward, they found out from a legal point of view, you can't promise things and not deliver and stuff, and they have to do it in a timely manner. And because they're not on the same time scale, that's why they've gone back and deleted things like what Grizzly's saying, right? Because if I then buy it and it doesn't do that, I can sue them, right? So they've got to protect themselves. But what I'm trying to tell you, Grizzly, is that they will do that eventually. They just have to do it from a legal point of view to protect themselves. So if you are upset that it's not doing it right now, patience, it will do it eventually. I think is what I'm trying to say. But I do agree with you. It is not in good faith to go back and delete things, but they're doing it from a legal point of view. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say there. It will get there. Just give them time. But they're doing it to protect it. We'll put it this way. I'll put it to both of you. Would you like CIG to be sued and lose money over something like this, or them just delete it so people can't sue them? Obvious to me.
So the issue with the deleting it after people have already bought and paid for something is you run into potential bait and switch.
Yes, but I think you would agree, given on how you guys know CIG and I know CIG and I've been here long enough, on good faith they are going to do it. It's just that they have to delete it from a legal perspective because they don't want to be sued. That's what it is.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
It's a legal thing. Like they have all these lawyers now involved in all this shit. A lot of stuff has to be done. That's why they don't do interviews and stuff like that, because it opens them up to liability stuff and saying things that they then have to promise and stuff like that. And people take them as promises. They're not promises. They'll just say, "Oh yeah, we would like to do that," and then people go, "Oh, they're going to do it." No, they said, "I would like to do that," right? So they've just learned that you can't. They have to draw a lot of things back because they're now this big, massive company, and people hear things that they didn't say and stuff like that. So it's about protecting themselves, and not just themselves. It's protecting the game too. Like, we want this game to succeed. Necessary evils, unfortunately.
So there's a few things here that I want to talk about. So first off, I don't know the person that asked this question, so please don't take this as a personal attack or anything like that. But to say that CIG falsely advertised with the Polaris, that implies malice. I don't believe that they falsely advertised. Everybody, including CIG, knows that the Matrix of Lies is the Matrix of Lies. CIG calls the Matrix of Lies the Matrix of Lies. They know
we call it the Matrix of Lies. They never called it that.
Right.
Me and Alfred coined that phrase anyway.
Right, but they call it that now. Like, an actual CIG person called it the Matrix of Lies.
Yep.
They know that it's not accurate.
Yep.
So we have two different options that we could possibly have here. One, they delete it. There's no information anywhere.
Yep.
So CIG is protected because there's no information anywhere. Or B, they keep it, and we know that some of it isn't going to be accurate. Like, for example, the Crucible or the Endeavor. The Matrix of Lies says that it's going to be 100 feet. So is it false advertising when the Endeavor grows to be 300 feet? No, it's not. Things change.
So Citizen Dance actually brings up a really good point recently. So me and Algrid obviously went to Ben and John and we talked to them, and then that whole issue that came up with the Galaxy and the build, right? Now, John Crew went absolutely out of his way to, when because he obviously, me and Algrid just didn't drill it home enough, but when it came out and it hit Spectrum and the whole thing exploded, he then spent an entire day of his workflow to address that issue and basically said, all right, we're going to do it. So they changed to make the community happy, right? They fixed the solution. It probably didn't work with their plans, but they're changing it to work. So that tells me good faith, right? And that's just one example. I have no doubt, and I could do another poll if you really want to, right? But I have no doubt that the Polaris will eventually get that refuel, resupply, and rearm, because they've talked about it in so many other ships, not just the Polaris. But as we've stated, you've got to protect the game, and that's what it's all about. It's about bad fact. You could have another game company come in, right? Someone from another game company buy that ship and then go sue you deliberately because you haven't put it in the game. You got to protect yourself. It's just how it is. And
I think that you'd have a really hard time proving damages.
Yeah.
If your JPEG ship
not always about
doesn't
damages,
have rearm.
But it's not always about damages, though. Sometimes it's about damaging credibility. Look what Crytek did. They had no money left at all, and they dragged CIG into a multi-million-dollar legal fund over an entire year, and all CIG wanted at the end was them to pay their bill, and they were like, we have no money to pay your bill, so we'll just agree to cancel it if you agree that we don't have to pay the bill. Crytek are scum. No offense, but they are scum. They literally went in, and it was just an utter money grab. And look at how you remember at the time, all the bad faith actors that came out and said, CIG's getting sued, they're doomed. I knew they were going to win.
Yeah.
You knew they were going to win. Most people here would agree that they knew they were going to win because it was just total bullshit. But the way it was perceived was what it was all about. And it was about trying to scare them into a settlement or scare them into some form of conversation just to shut them up. And I guarantee you, before that ever became public, that's what they were trying to do. And then, yes, anyway, I'm going in circles, right? Like, this is really obvious to me. I'm sorry. I don't want to feel like we're attacking you, Grizzly, but there's an internal and outside problem with Star Citizen where people that follow the game really, like, a lot more, you've learned to see how they address issues, and they have learned. How do I put this? They've got a certain level of trust, and I will give them a leash. They are on a leash, but if they go too far, I will call them out, and the community will call them out, much like what happened with the Galaxy and the build, right? We will call them out, and they will toe the line when they know they've gone too far, and they have earned my right to stuff up because they will fix it. Would you guys kind of agree with that? If I was to paraphrase this whole thing down, they've earned their right to stuff up because I've learned that they will fix things. Would you agree with that statement, boys?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it's no secret. People make mistakes. Companies make mistakes. It happens, and what is important to look at is how you recover from that. And they have a fairly decent track record of making it right. So yeah, I'd agree that they have earned a little bit of leeway. Here it is, as long as they do make it right in the end, obviously. Yeah.
What about you?
Problems pulling them out.
Lemming?
I think that the community has a really important part to play in this.
Absolutely.
When the Galaxy thing happened, that was valid outrage. People bought the ship because of what it said on a slide, and for John Crew to say, we didn't sell it, it didn't exist. It did exist. It happened on a slide. So they did that. However, some of the faux moments that the community gets their pitchforks out for, it's exhausting. Like in CIG.
But again, some of that is driven by content creators as well.
Yeah.
Drama, clicks, all that.
Oh, right. I put those content creators as part of the community too.
True.
Is like,
I agree with
that. We need to hold CIG accountable when they stuff up. But I mean, if it's little stuff, okay. But don't get out your pitchforks. I mean, come on, everybody. We're all adults.
You got to remember, a lot of these content creators are making money off this stuff, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
And it's those ones that have those that go for those viral videos. They're the people that I've lost. I've lost more trust with content creators than I have with CIG. And another way I'll put it is, both governments and there are other companies and governments that I would trust less than CIG. If you complain to the government, they don't tend to fix things very quickly. If you complain to a company, they've got no reason to because they've got your money. CIG could just do that, but they actively go out of their way to fix things. They've earned that good faith with me, and that's what I mean by trust. They've earned it for me. So yeah.
So I think that's on YouTube. The Waffle Insanity said, like the Atlas. Yes, the Atlas is a perfect example of the community, including content creators, including everybody, being like, oh my god, cash grab, blah 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 blah, CIG bad, they're going bankrupt, blah 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 blah. Come on, everybody, calm down.
Yeah, and you got to fund the game somehow, and that's just how this game is funded. And let's be honest, they are making the game of our dreams. Come on, don't sit here and tell me after 10 years you can't look at the tech and tell me that it's not bloody astounding. They're going to, it would never be made under a publisher. And as a former dev myself, and Piggles, I think you would talk to this as well, no money person would back this game. There's just no money in it for them. They spend all the money they make making the game better. That's how passionate they are. They live on it. But if they were like EA, they'd be trying to make billions of profit, wouldn't they? They're not going for profit; they're going for passion.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of scale of issue here. If a if an accountant were to come to me and go, make this, I'd say, yeah, no problem, give me a year. But then, make this for 100,000 players across millions of kilometers, size maps, all that kind of stuff with hundreds of millions of entities. That's the point when you go, okay, I need a team of 1,000 people in 20 years. It's a case of, I'd go back to there and the accountant would go, okay, the return for that time is too long to be certain of an actual return on investment there, because it's such a long holding, really. And which is why no publisher would want to get into that.
The conversations you and I had with devs at CitizenCon, I just remember the look. Like, I looked over at you when we were at that bar that night. The last bar Citizen, right? And I remember the guy in the funny hat and the glasses. And I just remember the passion on his face when he was talking to you, like the absolute joy, and everyone that you talk to, like the geek out, the nerdy out that we all get into talking about this game, they're exactly the same, right? But you remember what I was saying to you about the wildfires before, out of sight, out of mind, and humanizing it? That's what CitizenCon did. You go there, and these people aren't just a game on a screen anymore. They're people that you can actually talk to, and you can see their passion and all that. And I think it sounds really weird, but if you're a doubter, go to a bar Citizen, talk to a dev, and see how passionate that dev is. Right? Go to a CitizenCon and see it, and it opens your eyes quite a lot. And that's kind of what I was meaning before with the fires, about living someone else's experiences. And I think was the best thing about CitizenCon was just meeting everyone. And I don't know, you haven't spoken on that at all, Piggles, but you were there with me and Algrid almost the whole way.
Yeah.
What did you get out of CitizenCon?
A nice weekend away. I mean, mostly I want to add on to your point, to be honest. You can create huge engineering projects, and you can spend millions hiring top engineers to make sure it happens, but the best product you're going to get is through people who are passionate and actually care about the end goal of the design.
Who was the person that talked about that recently? The guy that made Path of Exile 2, right? He made the most profound statement, and the whole reason I left the gaming industry, right, was because it was all about money, right? And I realized I was never going to be able to get the games I wanted to make. Citizen comes along, and that's why I jumped on and started covering it, because it's the type of game I wanted to make that I just couldn't get done in Australia, right? And this guy from Path of Exile 2, so they make the game in, I believe it's in, God, I can't remember where they make it. But anyway, his statement was, if you are not the target audience of the game that you are making, how can you make that game? And that sounds really basic level, but that's why a lot of games fail, because it's the people that are driving the game is a money-making person. He is trying to make money. He is not trying to make a game. And that's why you get something like Path of Exile 2 that does really, really well, and then you've got Overwatch 2, or you like pick those games where they went down the money train, so Overwatch 1 was pretty good, but then when Activision got involved, they made number 2, and it went to shit. Right, and how many times can you and I sit here where marketing stuffed a game, or the money people stuffed a game? It is just a reoccurring trend, and they don't know how to make games. As soon as I know a certain publisher's involved these days, or a certain developer's involved, I'm out, because I look at their track. Like another example is BioWare. The last 3 or 4 games they've made have been absolute dog shit. I didn't need to know Dragon Age Veilguard was going to be shit, because all the games before it had been shit. They now have a decade of shit. And it's the developers that make these games, not the publishers. If I'm hearing stories from my friends that used to work at BioWare, that they've left, and their friends have left, the game is going to be shit. That's how I know Blizzard would go into shit, because the CEOs both left. And as soon as the CEO left, they came in as Activision and gutted all the perks. You gut the perks, the people fucking leave. It's the same. And go back to CIG. When we talked to those devs, Piggles, they said to it, like, I don't know if you were there for that conversation with the certain guy I'm talking about, but he literally said it's the best place he's ever worked. And he's worked at like in Japan, in Australia. He worked at a whole all these different, and he was like an accountant type style guy. And he just said it's the best. And most of the people that are complaining are people that have never made a game before, and they're not. That what they were actively complaining about was the crunch, because the crunch absolutely sucks. But guess what? There are people still at CIG now on break because of the crunch. They get that time off, and the other thing they told us was they get to choose how that time off is taken. Do you take it? I don't do that work, but what is it, lieu, and what's the other one? Time in lieu or time?
You can get time off in lieu, or you can just get it as paid overtime.
Most companies don't give you that; they just tell you what you have to do.
Right? Well, that's a legal requirement in this country.
I'm pretty sure that's illegal in the States, by the way.
Oh, in Australia, they just screw you left, right, and center then, because they tell you what to do here. Right, but the long story short I'm trying to get at is the thing that really came crystal clear to me is just how good they have it at CIG and how passionate they like. Just walking through the area, like the when we were on the ship tour, on the studio tour, they went through and like all the recreation room, all the games they can play and stuff like that. They've got like. They've set it up like the old Google where they don't want people to go home because they, you know.
Yeah, I do. I remember seeing the studio and thinking, wow, this is a really nice office. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't know, by the way, he got to go through. He came in with me and Agrid, and we just told him he was a friend, and they didn't know who he was. But so he got to see some of the behind the scenes stuff as well. But it was a really great studio, really well designed, and they were, like everyone was happy as hell. Like it wasn't like I've been to some development studios. And it's like being in a hospital that's really poorly run, where nobody wants to be there. Everyone's super depressed. No, it wasn't like that. And I as an outsider looking in, and as a former dev myself, I am envious of the way they're working. I would love to work at a place like that. But some of the places that you go, they have this, and it happens in all places where you have that political stuff. And I don't mean political as in PC. I mean as in like they have a ranking file. And if you even talk to the wrong person at some of the places I used to work to, you could get fired. There'd be this guy that's just like he's a head guy, and even if you say hello to him the wrong way, he'd fire you. You know, you couldn't say, "Hey, what are you working on today?" or be friendly like that. I heard things at CIG like they get like. Even the cleaners or the bartenders or the people that make the coffees come up to them and have an idea, they will listen to it. That's insane. Really cool. Shouldn't you want to promote that in your workplace, an exchange of ideas and thought and discussion? And I can tell you that from Inforunners, all our best ideas come out from ideas that someone says something that sounds ridiculous, and someone else picks it up and runs with it. It's that joining of ideas. But if that person can never speak what's on their mind, it never comes out. I don't know. I like it breeds creativity, and we're in a game. Isn't a game a very creative environment? So you want to foster and nurture that creativity rather than locking it down and just blindly. Like it's not Chris's vision anymore, is what I'm trying to say. I share that vision.
I mean, I don't think you have to go to a Bar Citizen or to a sitcon to see that vision. Like I honestly felt for Chris.
Yeah.
During day one of the Squadron demo, they put so many runs into that Squadron demo.
Dude,
and you could see it on his face. He was ready to rip that computer apart.
Yeah. But also, we heard it because he was a bit far from me, but the year before, a grown man on stage crying, that's passion as fuck. I cried myself because it was that damn sad, right? But
yeah,
I don't mean sad, it was a happy sad.
But I mean, he was on the verge of tears. I could just tell it from the tension in his voice. He needed to cry or scream, and I'm glad that he did neither. But
I've learned to appreciate the live demos because it shows it warts and alls, and it shows where they're up to. And yes, it was the machine's fault because they did it again back at the workplace, and it worked totally fine.
Yep.
Right. And I don't know. I'll put that to you guys. Do you actually like the risk of doing a live demo? It's not. It makes it more real. It makes it like a gamer thing, not a corporate perfection thing. You know, like if things can go wrong, it it makes it feel like it'll be like it to run it on my PC at home.
So I think having the confidence
there you go.
to do it live to do it live really says something. And you know, in my line of work, if we get to the point where we do a live demo, it's basically a finished product. So it's, you know, it's not quite the same, but yeah, like I said, there's really something to be said to have the confidence and willingness to do it live in front of such a huge audience.
And besides the crash, there was only 2 little bugs in the whole thing. That guy's face switching, and that's just a LOD issue, and it was obviously they'd changed his look, so that LOD was out of date. And then the gun in Gillian Anderson's hand, which I could just put down to a bug, right? And like that thing was pretty damn polished. I've seen games that released that were way worse than that, you know. But like they all know that they only get one shot at this, and they've got a lot riding on it. They've been doing it for a really long time. They want it to be perfect, and I guarantee you, being in development, you'll probably agree with me on this, Piggles. There's going to be bugs day one. That no matter how much they prepare, when that thing goes live, they will get so much more bug reports that they never, even when if they gave it to us to test, right? That because the audience size will just, you know, exponentially increase. It's
impossible to predict absolutely everything. You can do your best, but you can't account for absolutely everything, unfortunately. And you know, you can do as much as you can, but ultimately maybe some things will slip through. But what they've done here, especially with that 2026 date, is they've given themselves quite a long amount of time to narrow down and patch as much as they possibly can, just so the scope and possibility of things that might go wrong at launch are as small as possible.
And you'd expect it to run better on consoles because they're more similar hardware than, you know, my PC. Even if it's exactly the same as Piggles, it has different software on it, so it'll run slightly differently. So they're a lot more individualized.
Yeah, the ideal thing about consoles is you know exactly what you're working with, and that lets you tailor how things run, how tasks are distributed across the available hardware, things like that to what you're working with, because you know you have that set expectation. It's a lot harder to do that for general PCs because instead of going like for a bespoke approach for a particular system, you're having to do all around general computational improvements, which ultimately that is the better way to do it, because that will be an improvement all around, but it is a much more labor intensive process.
Lemming, would you agree with this statement? And then I'll ask for the same of you, Piggles. This will probably be the most polished AAA game we've seen in a long time.
No.
No. Oh, okay.
I don't think that Squadron 42 will be as polished as Baldur's Gate 3 was.
Okay. All right. What about you, Piggles?
Baldur's Gate 3 had a year and a half, I think, on Steam as a demo. That first chapter of Baldur's Gate 3, I don't believe another game will ever release that smoothly. You can tell that the other chapters weren't in the demo because they aren't as smooth. But holy cow, Baldur's Gate 3 was holy cow.
Okay.
Because just it's time in the wild.
But I didn't say just that game. I meant like one of the most polished games, period. Like, so yes, Baldur's Gate was polished, but I think this will be, that's why I said one of the most polished AAA games. I think that's what I said anyway.
Okay. So yeah, then yes, I can agree with that.
Yeah, there could be months more polished. We'll see. Okay.
I'd say with the amount of time they're giving themselves, I'd definitely be disappointed if it wasn't up there. But we do also have to consider there is some really very strong competition for the top in terms of, you know, least bugs, most stable, that kind of thing. You know, I played the PC release of God of War Ragnarok when that came out. that was, to be honest, completely flawless for me. I don't know if anyone else ran into issues, but I had no problems whatsoever.
I find a lot of the time, people that know how to use their PC and maintain their PC, they don't have these issues. And then you get someone that doesn't know how to use their PC properly, and it just a certain game comes up and it runs like shit. And it's not actually the game; it's some underlying piece of software that's conflicting with the game. And I found this because I go around and fix people's PCs, and it's not the game; it's something else they've got on there, and they just don't know what they're doing. Anyway.
Yeah, so I'm very curious to know what the release, if it's going to be a multiple platform release in 2026 with Squadron. If it is, the console is probably going to be the way to go. Just because you can control what version of the PlayStation OS that they have on it. You can just not launch the game if they aren't on the latest.
I think realistically, more gamers are on console, right? So it's just it's going to be it's a given because of population. It's just a population thing. And again, being a single player game, why wouldn't they play it on console? You know. And I think we can all kind of agree Star Citizen may never come to consoles, but Squadron makes logical sense. I just want to show you this real quick. This is the sneak peek for the week. I think this is literally just saying, hey, Lunar New Year's coming next week, which is no surprise.
Yeah.
And the tagline is, it'll bring you good fortune, which I also think that means the misfortune. I don't know if you guys see that, but I think that's a tip of that.
So,
the misfortune coming.
So that person, like, I often look at the background of these pictures and stuff like that. That's definitely out on a planet. I would say very likely on a ship. And I bet that person is in the fortune.
Yeah, I'd bet money on it too.
A ship?
Yeah, so what he's saying is that that character is sitting in a ship on a planet.
Look at the background. That's not a ship.
Well, no, but look at the frame over there between the envelope and his head. You've got a frame there.
Yeah,
yeah. So you reckon that's a building, do you? Not a ship?
Yeah. That's either a derelict or like a ruined outpost.
Well, no.
Okay.
Yep, possibly. I won't deny that. Again, most of these images always give you enough to hang yourself, right? But I think the tagline of it will bring you good fortune. I don't think you can look past that. I think that's the word fortune in misfortune. Like and there's always a clue in those things, the way they're worded. So yeah, I'm pretty sure. Again, knowing that there's a lunar skin, the lunar event's on, I don't think there's any argument there. We're getting the misfortune next week.
Yeah. So when I initially heard about the fortune, I thought it was going to be a St. Patrick's Day thing, but I do think that it's coming before probably at the Lunar New Year because of the.
Oh, there's a skin. It's 100% coming.
Is it okay?
Yeah, I can. I'll look, give me a second. So we did a video that last night, me and Ara got on it because we found the skin and we were like, yeah, this just kind of tells it's coming out. But we had other like the video and stuff. But this here, if and I can't really zoom in on it, but up here, it literally says Lunar 2955, right? And so that's like you've seen the other Chinese New Year skins. It's red with gold tint, and that is clearly not the prospector. That is clearly the misfortune. Again, it's coming next week. It's really obvious. Right.
It'll be interesting to see because I don't know have they released a ship before it's in the patch.
Have they released a ship before it's essentially playable?
Like, would this be a pre-sale for it?
No, it's in the PTU.
No, it's already. So the way where the videos and that came from is essentially Hader went into his own private version of the game and spawned the ship for himself, and then recorded it, and that's what's got on the internet, right? So essentially, like, you obviously haven't seen it, but that's fine.
It's not offline.
Can you?
It's in PTU.
Look, can you see this? Are you
Yes,
watching the
I
stream? Right, so I'll just look. So this is literally a video of someone walking around in the Misfortune, got all this new spaces and everything. Like that's all in game. You can't. Like, good luck faking that quick, right? So
Yeah.
This is a real thing. It's coming. It's good to go. Yeah.
Right. So are they pushing 4.0.1 out next week?
Yeah, and it's really stable at the moment. Like there's been a couple of patches this week. What were you saying about it, Piggles? Like you reckon it's coming out like next couple of days? Yeah, going to live.
Oh yeah. I mean, all the Lunar New Year content is in that patch, so it's if it isn't out before then, that's a serious problem.
Yeah. Actually, John, Citizens on Twitch, let me know your thoughts on this as a salvager, John, because I know you do a lot of the industry stuff, and we'll let you weigh in on that one as well if you want to.
So I've spent a lot of time in a vulture and a reclaimer. I'm very excited about this ship.
Well, we didn't talk to you about this earlier, but and I know you made a comment about the vulture being too small for munching, but at least it's got the option to munch. I can't see that on this.
Yeah, so I quit munch. Well, yeah, I quit munching in
your
my
wife will
vulture.
be very. Oh, you had the line there. It was a perfect joke, and you.
Oh my! Oh my!
I'm that quick, bro. You've got to be like I was used to hecklers, man. You just got to be super quick with those jokes. Anyway, sorry. Continue. He ruined my joke.
I used to do it and then just throw it out the back.
It's getting worse. It's getting way worse. Those lines. Oh my god. Anyway, right. Sorry.
But like some of the stuff would get stuck in the buffer, so I quit doing that completely, and then I would just leave the hole there. Just because it's so small, and that construction material is so big. Yeah.
Again, I think it shows that the size of the ship it's got to be relative to the size of the ship it's doing. Only having 12 SCU on the Vulture, you probably want to scrape it, go away, come back, and then do it again. That's another weakness of the Vulture. Or do you double up and have 2 Vultures? But again, like I was saying before, I can see the weakness of this thing. If this is only designed for scraping, I can see a need for that because it scrapes. The Vulture then come along and munch it.
But let's say that it's 3 times as good as the Vulture at scraping.
Well, it's got a size 2. It's got a size 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, could absolutely. Apparently, your face really terrifies just a riot, Pickles. So you've done well.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yes, it is a bit creepy though. Always creeps me out slightly too. Right, man, that really changed it. Right, so that was Grizzly's question. Thank you for that very informative discussion question, Grizzly. Really appreciate it. Right, Call Me Teach says, how many new players do you think that we've gained last year, particularly after CitizenCon?
If you look at the numbers, not a lot. But let's face it, neither Free Fly was particularly successful. And like, I get a lot of I watch a lot of YouTube. I haven't seen a Star Citizen commercial on YouTube in months.
I think there were.
So I think
being at CitizenCon and after, there were a lot. After CitizenCon ended, there were a lot of devs that were all hands on deck trying to get 4.0 out and done.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of things that didn't get quite done the way they wanted to get them done. Like I think the Guardian had things that needed done to it, as an example, that did like I've never seen 2 ships get sold that were more similar.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I was going to talk about now is like, let's be honest, SIG hasn't really talked to us since the beginning of October, since before SitCon, because they were holding a lot of stuff for SitCon, and a lot of that information that was at SitCon, I think, was a couple weeks old. But we haven't like, and that's one thing. Like it feels like it's been so long since like we got a ship update and stuff like that. Because that didn't happen at AIE this year. We didn't have the ship panel that they just talk about ships at. It just feels like, and we didn't really have that at SitCon either. They just talked about the ships that they had there. So it feels like it's been a really long time for me. I don't know if anybody else feels like that.
It feels that way, but it's not always the case. I think the other thing you getting from what you said there, apparently ISC returns next week. Well, we know what that's all going to be on. The Fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to point out a couple of people in Twitch chat that literally said every YouTube video they watch is a Squadron 42 ad. So there's a lot of people that are getting them. Yeah, there was like Just a Riot and Dendrick Patol. I think it was his name. Dendra Patoli. Oh man, I can't pronounce names. I'm shockingly bad. Right. The glass sword. Oh, go ahead. Piglet.
Sorry, I got one more thing to add there.
Speak. No, go ahead.
What I think a lot of people miss is their reason to need for perpetual growth. Eventually, you're going to hit a critical mass of people that are going to be interested, and at that point, your new accounts, for example, are going to dry up. And this year, we've had fewer new accounts than maybe last year, but they're still there.
Also, a longer a game goes on too.
Yeah, naturally
you lose people because like a lot of people, like it's a perpetual thing that's been Star Citizen's been taking so long, it's never going to come out. That's the running joke. But also they're big, you know all the reasons why. I don't have to go into that. But yeah, sorry, I just want to add that. My bad.
Yeah, and it's the same with profit, funding, revenue. Any company, there is always that pressure for perpetual increase in profits. And that really can be a toxic environment, especially for like long-term plans. So I think, as long as the company itself, is turning a profit, as long as there is still, interest being generated in the project, there shouldn't be too much of a concern, obviously, unless if it drops off a cliff, that is cause for a little bit of concern. But there shouldn't be a focus placed on perpetual increase.
Everything you're mentioning there is probably why they're going to the more playable game this year. They want that game to be more stable, more playable, have a good reputation. So when they come around to sell Squadron 42, you're not got these people go, but Star Citizen's shit. They want to try and put it to a more playable state. Again, they're probably, like you said, those numbers are probably down. This is all a part of probably trying to increase those numbers as well, and then increase more sales as well. And again, rounding out that foundation of server meshing, start to make, if you make it really playable and then build all the stuff on top of it and just more and more gameplay after that, I can't see that being a bad thing. But again, they are now actively working on a live product, and that's a difficult environment to be in because, let's be honest, I would have thought it would have been at a much greater state with more gameplay before you kind of said this is a live product. Because let's be honest, it's like they don't even have the tech finished.
Yeah, I mean, in your typical development environment, you wouldn't really have even told people that the project exists at this stage. Unfortunately, this is a project of a scale where you need that funding, which means you need it from the public.
Yeah.
So the hand is kind of forced here.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think CIG was in an impossible win situation come December. Because they had to have 4.0 out, quote, by the end of the year. Like they had to. It just had to. Yeah. But it just wasn't there. It just wasn't moving there. And I think they made the best that they could out of a really bad situation.
It's not always easy to plan a year ahead and try and hit that target from a year away. None of us can predict the future. None of us can see all the moving parts, no matter how well we plan. You plan regardless, but best laid plans never work out.
Like I'm very interested to see the first roadmap update. Is there going to be a roadmap update? Because the roadmap person isn't there anymore.
That's a really really good point. That it's just me chill said in YouTube, not finished, playable. That's a really good point. Yeah. Now I think about it, that's exactly how you got to say it. It's not finished, but at least I can goddamn play the thing. Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head. Sorry.
Yeah. I agree with that.
All right. The glass sword. Sorry, the glass sword says, "What if instead of blasting, the Fortune has a laser cutter instead?" I think it's pretty obvious. It's got the salvage head on it though in the videos and the stuff. So if I go back through it, like it's a salvage head on the front. Like you can't.
So, I think it was Waffle Insanity on YouTube said that there's something on top of it that looks like it could be used, and I don't see it, but I haven't.
Have you got shots of this thing from above? I haven't seen it. Well, the only one I've seen from above is this Misfortune paint, and there's nothing on top there. Like I know it's really small, but like if there was something on top, wouldn't it be really clearly visible? And that looks all like just panel lines to me. Maybe this thing here at the front. I don't know. Maybe something comes out the head there. Maybe that's where that that beam thing you and I are arguing about before, Piggles. Maybe it comes out the head.
So I actually thought that beam thing that you were arguing about when I joined but didn't start talking, it retracts. It could possibly retract or not retract.
Absolutely.
Depending upon the mode that it's in.
Yep.
I haven't seen a shot. Like I try to stay away from leaks now, especially from a certain person, but that could be that.
Yeah, there does look. There might be something there at the front, just because it's got those dark lines. It almost looks like it's a little bit recessed. So yeah, maybe.
I think that's just design. I don't reasonably see anything in there.
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe. Again, I've got a. You can't see it quite as large as I can, but yeah, it's definitely got dark shadows around that area. Again, wait and see. Not gonna promise anything or state anything.
We'll know in a week.
Yep, we'll know in a week. Again, enough rope to hang yourself every single damn time. Right, the glass sword also says, "Can you check the video? Did you see the leak video? What materials the crafting station uses might give insight into what it can take because munching is a different commodity." That is a good point. Let's have a quick look. And I do have the video, and I can go to the section where it does do that. You go inside. You go, here it is. You play this. All right, so it says Pyro Multi-Tool, trundle, track the beam, carry a light SRT attachment, and the canister. You're gonna have to assume that it's got all the same crafting materials as the Vulture. That it's
what does it say in yellow? I can't read the screen.
Yeah, I can't really zoom. That's about as much as I can zoom in. It's a bit too blocky for me. I have to get my old man glasses. Hold on. Where are they? I have to do my old reading glasses. Hang on. Have a look. It says. No, it's still too blurry. I can't even read that. Yeah, it's too pixelated. Nope. I can't read that. It's too blurry. It's just something about components, stuff like that. But yeah, it's too. I can't make it out. Sorry.
But I think we can agree that, like, okay, stop. Oh, okay.
Well, if it's doing the same thing the Vulture's doing, it's got to have the materials that the Vulture's got. So I think we can say there is somehow that this still does munching. I just don't know how it does it.
Yeah. So if you look there, we can agree that the words in yellow there in the first thing match the words in the third thing. So that probably says construction material, and I can't make out the second one.
This one says something like construction material, and then something I can't quite read what it says there. Just too blurry for me to read. And even when I had the glasses on, the zooming doesn't help. It's actually pixelation of the actual video. So, actually, there was one. Let's see if this one's readable. Someone did send me an image of that screen. I wonder if that one allows us to zoom in a bit more. Hang on. Open in browser. Oh, it doesn't have that shit on it. Oh well. All right. Well, that rules that out. I don't know. I'd be willing to bet it's got some form of munching, but again, as you said earlier, we've only got a week to wait, so wait and see.
I'm going to say it has no munching because I'm not going to get my hopes up for anything.
Does it say seconds? First time chatter on Lazy Donuts. No, it says SCU.
I think
it says SCU seconds. Oh, SC seconds. No, SCU is the cargo units. Standard cargo unit is what it stands for. Anyway. Right. I was about to say next question, Aaron, but he's not here. Right. Robert JT says, do you think it's feasible to use a Starlancer Max solo with engineering just for cargo?
Where on earth did you jump to?
Well, I mean, I hope you don't get shot at. Otherwise, probably.
I jumped to there. Yeah, I probably did jump too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. I missed a couple
Sorry,
of questions.
I just couldn't read it.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, Piggles, what'd you say?
I think as long as you don't get shot at, you're probably fine.
Yeah, I'll just stay in safer space. I think you could make it work, but it's clearly designed for 4 people, that ship. You know, 2 people I think would be nice and a bit safer, because as soon as things go in trouble, one can keep flying while the other person goes and fixes it. But yeah, I think there are better ships than the Starlancer Max. It's not my favorite ship, but if you like it, that's awesome. I'd be looking at the Hull B or the Raelian preference to that. They also both do more cargo than the Starlancer Max, and they're smaller. So yeah. Anyway. So we need to go back and do those questions I missed. So, what instead of blasting, the Misfortune has a laser cutter instead. Now I get that.
We did that one.
We did that one, but the next one I missed, right? So it's, this is from the same person, the glass sword.
We did that one as well.
Oh, shit. So no, I just didn't tick them, and that's why you were lost. Right. So I just gotta tick them. Right. Mega Tiger Ninja says, I thought munching wasn't a thing anymore. Why would the ship be different? No, it's still a thing. They just temporarily haven't put it in because, like, what they did with the Reclaimer was a temporary fix just to get it working so they could move on to other things. Because it had been going for like 4 years without having it, and so they were just sick of all the blowback, so they just did something temporary. But munching is 100% still a thing. 100%. Anything else you guys want to add to that? Would you like to say your thoughts? No, munching's still a thing for you guys?
I think it probably changed just because of desync and the way that online games work and predictability of objects moving and a lot of different reasons. I don't believe that you'll be able.
I think it's because they moved to the Maelstrom system.
Yeah.
So I think it won't be until Maelstrom comes in that you actually see munching finally. Because the original idea, it's also why the claw changed, because the original idea was it was going to use the docking system just to grab the ship, and the ship was going to have these cut points you could cut it up into to bring it into the ship. Now that's all out the window because you can break it in there as many parts as you want.
Yeah. The big issue I have with that, and in fact, I suppose this really extends to Maelstrom as a whole, and I'll be really interested to see how it works in the end, is as soon as you start working with thousands of tiny little physics objects in a small space, all interacting with each other.
Yep.
That is a hell of a job to synchronize, not only from yourself to the server, but with all the other players in the environment as well. That's no small technical task. I imagine the biggest hurdle. In a single player, that's fine. You can do that, no problem. But as soon as you introduce...
How do you clean up those missed entities that are just there? Like, what are those extra 100 entities that is making the whole place lag for no reason? So they're going to have like death and decay. They've talked about doing it.
So that's the biggest. Yeah. So that's the biggest problem I see with Maelstrom, like cutting up ships. So it's not an insurmountable problem by any means, but it is a very difficult problem to solve.
All right, so we've got about... well, go ahead.
I 1000% agree with what Piggles said.
Yep.
It's just not feasible for a massively... Like, let's say that you have 100 people on your Javelin, and all of them are looking at something, and the ship explodes, and the pieces go everywhere. The server isn't going to track that, because that's practically impossible to get all of that information out to all of those 100 people.
So you break it down and you gamify it, right? So basically, most of the small pieces will be effects. The bigger pieces will be the pieces that you salvage, and it is limiting how they're broken up.
Yep. But I mean, again, just kind. So the people that are expecting the owner reclaimer that expect to be able to use the claw to ram it into an Idris and rip out an Idrid. I think those like people are...
That's like those people like in Mortal Kombat. Yeah, pull out the heart and go, but like with an Idris, the claw just goes in and rips out its engine and goes, I will steal your soul. Yeah, sorry, that was just a visual I got when you said that.
Yeah, I just want those people to kind of temper their expectations of exactly what that claw may do one day.
All right, Piggles. Do we want to have a quick look at the Kraken? We've got about 45 minutes left.
We can do it.
So if you've got that set up, I will flick it over. So I made a special scene here just for me and Piggles. Right. So you guys should be able to hear me now. Can you hear me? Yep, 0 sound, no audio. Hang on, I got to add their sound as well. Hold on. Add audio, input capture. Just a second, I'll go back to the other scene. Where is it? Chat output. All right, so I'll copy this one. All right. That's my bad.
Twitch can hear us.
No, they can now. They can hear my
YouTube can.
Yeah, they can hear my microphone because I put my microphone in the scene. But now they should also be able to hear you guys as well. Sorry, apologies for that, guys. I made a new scene and I forgot to do the sound. Did the video, but didn't do the sound. So apologies. But do you want to go back to the beginning and say what you were saying about what you've done, Piggles? So this is
So we got a Kraken spawned in here and a Arena Commander. This is Broken Moon. This is the model. I can't remember whether this was the one from the Kraken commercial or whether it was the one that was on the pad in Lorville in the CitizenCon demo. It's one of those two, but that's where this one's from. There's not really much interior. Ignore the player model. I've accidentally made him bigger than he should be.
Yep.
The only real interior we've got here is just these placeholder hangers that they used for the commercial, so there's not really much reading into it that you can do here.
Yep.
We do have Caterpillar over here for scale. I know someone was wondering, can you fit a Caterpillar on this pad up here? I have tried it, and yes, you can.
Yeah, Grim, Sergeant Grim is a massive fan of this ship.
Yeah.
I have no doubt he'll be watching this video at some point. So yeah.
I enjoy a bit of Kraken as well. It's one of my favorites. It's the most aircraft carrier of all the ships.
I think that's why it's so popular. It's a
primarily why I like it.
What's that?
Yeah.
Is it the Japanese anime? Was it Battleship Gamato or something like that? It's called. You know, it reminds me of that.
Battleship or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah.
But anyway, I have fit a caterpillar on this before. I have a screenshot somewhere. I'll find it and send it to you, Grim, if you're listening. But essentially, yes, it does fit on the pad, but you've kind of got to go a little bit diagonal to get it on there. It's a bit of a squeeze.
You should probably go on because Grim does his show on STAR-JM. You should probably go on there and he'll talk to you about the Kraken.
Oh, God, I haven't spoken to Grim in a long time.
Yeah, but he'd definitely have you on. I know that. I wouldn't even have to ask him. I know that already. But yeah, I am really looking forward to this ship. It is besides the Polaris, it's the only other real kind of it's the biggest ship I own, put it that way. And I really wanted it for a long time, and I went out of my way to get one. And I'm really looking forward to it. It is an org ship, though, isn't it? Like in your guys' opinions?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is a ship that it's entirely based around group play.
Now, Lemming, you're an Origin fanboy. What do you have to say about the Kraken? Positive or negative, whatever you want to say. I know it's probably not for you, but what are your thoughts on it?
I respect it for what it is.
A pile of junk? Is that what you're about to say? No.
No. I'm trying to think words. So I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, words are hard. So, words are hard.
I fear for the Kraken because I spent the time that I did in the Idris.
Right. And what do you fear for it? Like it's not going to be what people think it's going to be, or
that it's going to be more of a FPS level than it is a ship. And I hope it's not. But do
you feel the difference will be a little bit though that Idris was really built for Squadron? This isn't being built for Squadron. This is really built for Star Citizen. I think that is probably a fundamental difference. We've also got the plans of the ship. We've seen the rooms. We've seen how it's laid out. I like the way it's laid out. Oh, look at those engines, man. What does that remind you of? That sci-fi show with just the... Can you imagine the sound that's going to have too?
It reminds me of Battlestar. I don't know if anybody else feels that way.
Yeah, it's just all engine. It's great. I love it. This thing's got a what's the other ship? You'd be able to see this, Piggles. Oh god, I'm brain farting. The Bengal. That's got a tram on it. This is the only ship I think we can buy that has a tram on it from one end to the other, which is bananas.
Yeah, that's the plan. It's a big old ship. Yeah, I mean this is a docking hatch for scale.
Yeah.
just to give you an idea. And it's on the end of an arm.
Yeah, I could see multiple Krakens docked next to each other, an Endeavour docked to this or whatever. This is going to be a hub. This is they're talking about player space stations. This is the prerequisite to that. I have no doubt one of these will be parked next to the space station as it's built. You'll have a Nautilus come in, they'll set up all their turrets and mines and all that shit. You're going to need all those defenses. And it's all this ship is going to facilitate all that. How are you going to have ships come in and be resupplied and all those logistics without a ship like this? It just doesn't work. You need something to work around. The Idris is not built for that because it's built for combat. This does not have the combat capability of an Idris, but what it does give is it just supports all those other smaller ships. And medium ships too, because of the pads. Where larger ships are, a lot more on their own.
I do have to say that what Piggles is showing is very pretty.
Yep. And let's be honest, this is just an exterior. This is not before it's finished and all that, so it's going to improve.
This is an old model as well. It's been updated since then. You can go in. Where is it? It's Cousin Crows, isn't it? They've got a Holovia model of this. Yeah. It's small, so you can't really see it, but I have been keeping track of it and I have been updating it. It's just This is more detailed because it's a full-size one.
And I bring that up with you and Grim because I go in there and see it, and every time I say it's updated, I say, can you guys check and see if this is updated? And you and Grim will come back to me and say, yeah, it's been updated, or no, you're crazy, or whatever. But it got updated just before CitizenCon. I know that you guys got back to me. But like, there's so many cool things in this ship, and I am really, really looking forward to it. And I think, I don't know, look, I'm gonna say a statement, and you tell me if you think this is wrong. I think Drake, and those people that like Drake, the reason they like it as out of all the spaceships, it is probably the closest manufacturer to what we have right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's more minimalistic, but it also like, this is clearly designed off an aircraft carrier. And it's just more relatable to us. You know, when you get something like the 890 jump. Now, I'm not trying to pick on them or anything or say they're bad or anything like that, but you would never put walnut fixtures in a spaceship because of the weight, right? That is really a sign of luxury, like just excessive weight for no reason. Where this is all lightweight, you know, it's all minimalistic. That is a lot more like what we would do right now to save costs. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not a huge fan of Drake ships in general.
You're in more of an Origin guy. You guys are both more Origin, just so you know. You and Lemming are very similar tastes, by the way.
I'm not particular. I think if a ship looks cool to me, I like it. I'm huge on the Guardian right now. I love that thing.
That's
but yeah, it's just something about the Kraken. It's different to the rest of the Drake ships, and that really calls to me.
That
whole design language is different.
How do you feel, Lemming, about him owning a 100i? He's a massive fan of the 100i.
It's the 125A. Cool. Thank you very much.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, that changed everything.
I own a 125A.
Oh, what the hell's wrong with the pair of you? Oh my god.
They're twins.
They're cringe twins.
To be fair, I don't think I've flown it in over a year, so I suppose there is that to consider.
That was my biggest problem with the Intrepid, is I just kept comparing it to the 125A, and it just loses.
It loses against a lot of ships, but like as I said with the Intrepid, like it wasn't until I got into Pyro then I really started to appreciate it. It's a distance-based ship, and again, sometimes you can't see them when the functionality is not there. When it was in Stanton, I just couldn't see it. But once I got into Pyro and those distances increased, it was like, oh, now I see it. And I think that's going to be a trend going forward. There's going to be more and more things that, as different gameplay comes in, there's just like some ships look the same on paper, and then you get into the game and it's like, well, hang on, I missed something here. So yeah. I am looking forward to seeing this thing like fully working with the crew and everything, like just like a living, breathing ship. You know, the cargo's going on. There's a chef in the kitchen. There's the people on the deck doing their land here, fancy dancing with the bar pole things, and you know, people coming and going. But the same thing on the privateer. Can you imagine what that's going to be like a flying shopping mall? Like people coming in and going. What was the cargo bay going through and actively trading and. You know, it's going to feel like a Mos Eisley in space a little bit, isn't it? So, I know I'm super keen. All right, hope you guys kind of enjoyed that. Thanks for showing us, Piggles. Is there anything else you want to show us on there, Piggles, that you think that is kind of standard or things that people might have missed exterior-wise?
I don't really have anything else ready to go, to be honest. I set this up specifically for this. We've got a caterpillar over here for scale. Just to kind of give you guys an idea, but there's nothing.
It's like 400.
Really, how long?
Isn't it like 400 meters long? It's roughly what we've estimated that the Endeavour will turn out to in size. Is what I remember.
It's a big old ship, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was me and Grim that worked that out. It's basically so it might change physically, as in height and width and stuff, but for the Endeavour to do what it needs to do, the Endeavour has to be roughly the same size as that Kraken. Which is crazy to me. $350 ship that big. But anyway.
Can you fly close to the bridge?
Yeah, no problem.
I just kind of want to...
There's nothing in there, but we can go up to it.
Yeah. I guess we'll put that out too.
If I head down to the...
just real quick.
Go to the deck here. So this is about head height looking up at the bridge. Just to give you an idea.
Just real quick, if there's a part of the ship you want to look at, let us know. While Piggles is here, and we'll have a look. I've just been cat attacked, as you can see. It's going to do it again. No, it's just going to sit in front of me, but in the pain in the ass, aren't you? How you doing, buddy? Good boy. Yeah, we're looking at the ship. You want cuddles, do you? All right. Cool. Yeah. It's really militaristic. It's probably one of the most militaristic ships I think we've seen from Drake. Really aggressive, which we have seen on others though.
I mean, I think it's very pretty. It's just not for me.
I have a secret hope, and I brought this up with Algrid, and I think I've even brought it up with you as well, Piggles, is that I have a sneaking suspicion this might be one of the capital ships we see in Squadron 42 Episode 2. And I haven't read the storyline or watched any of the leaks like that, but I just got this feeling that something's going to go wrong, right? And say one of the because how do you get from the Javelin to the Stanton, the Idris Stanton, right? Or something will happen to the Stanton at the end of Episode 1 and it gets destroyed, and then you get picked up by the people, the pirates that you ended up teaming up with in the end, but you had originally they'd been your enemy, and so they take you in, and all the fighters. So all the fighters, we've only got the Buccaneer right now, but all the fighters, like all the Drake, where's the Drake Heavy fighter? Where's the Drake Medium fighter? They will all be built then, and so the second campaign will be you starting out on a Kraken. Is that like the absolute polar opposite of what Episode 1 is? And it gives you that variety in gameplay, and then by the start of Episode 3. You're back on something like the Polaris or some kind of new ship, and the Polaris is meant to be the newest ship in the fleet. I don't know. This is where my brain goes. I don't know if you think differently.
I can't answer this without spoiling anything.
Oh, you know stuff, dude. Okay, well, it's just a hope for me. That yellow area there, that's the cargo bay, isn't it not?
Yeah, it looks like it's coming through really terribly on the stream and get closer.
Yeah, that's just because we're of the way, because we're using Ninja at the moment, and it's just the engine as well, so yeah.
There you go. I'll stay still, let it kind of figure itself out.
Okay. Played this game and it worked and it was awesome. Approximate. Okay. Looking to see if there's anywhere. Since the Dragonfly has no other subcraft, where are they going to do with the Dragonfly blade? The Dragonfly blade also says it'll take other vehicles. Is there anywhere you can see where roughly you think that Dragon blade would be? Isn't it at the top of behind the bridge?
Yeah, off the top of my head, it's like around here, isn't it? Off the floor plan. There's like there's like a big hatch here, I guess.
Yeah, it'd have to be somewhere that they can deploy out, or an airlock or something like that where they can get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember where the floor plans are. Or maybe it was down here, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was to the right side.
Underneath.
Like on the side itself. So a little bit to the left of there. I thought it was like right there.
Yeah, I don't really see much.
Yeah, I don't see anything there.
Stop at you. I'm trying to work. So I've kind of got. I'm just going to cut it over for a second. I'll come back to you. So this is the rough kind of floor plan. So the Dragonfly Bay is there, Pickles. Can you see what I'm looking
I
at?
see.
Yeah, so it is.
Right.
It is very close to where you were saying it was. Like, except, I think you're dead on where it was. In fact,
pan round over here.
Yeah.
See if there's anything on this side.
Yeah, hang on. I'm coming back to you now. There we go.
There you go. Make it terrible lighting. I know, but it means we can see better.
So it's just in there. Literally just in there. I just can't see how it gets out though. There's. It doesn't really kind of show any exit. So maybe they've got to come out the side or something.
Yeah, I mean, this is an early sort of concept fake model just for the. It's just for commercial purposes. There's nothing.
Again, this map is literally that ship with it drawn over the top. So they've obviously planned it all out. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Or some say big doors on top. Look.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably that door there, like there on that angle. You know, you kind of got like that 45-degree angle there.
Yeah.
Probably something like that, or a hatch there. Or
Yeah, I mentioned that
like
earlier. I've just spotted this, which looks kind of hatch-like as well.
Yeah, that does look like a little bit like a door that would slide open. Yeah, it could be either of those. Again, time will tell. Yeah, interesting. All right. Well, we got a few more questions to go back to. We've got 25 minutes left. No one else wanted to wait. The big. I have plans in front of me. It's the big doors on top. Yes, Waffle. It is. No one else really wants to look at anything. Rex wants to climb all over me. All right, Piggles. I think we'll go back to questions now. Thank you so much for showing that to everyone. It's always good to see it in game and kind of working. I really do look forward to getting in there with all my friends and flying that eventually. I don't know when that'll be, but going in. Right, let's get back to questions. We've only got a few questions left, so we might be wrapping up early. So Volta, who's Father and Son Gaming, says, after the Retaliator modules, we didn't see much about that topic. Do you think the modules for ships, e.g. Carrack, have a low or high priority? I think a lot of stuff just gave way for 4.0. Like a lot of stuff. Because there's no point doing a lot of that stuff until server meshing is in. And the other thing you got to realize is different teams work on different parts.
Well, we know that the modularity people and the server meshing people share a lot of the same skills.
Yes.
As in, they're very much the same people. So I think that they got modularity to a point, and that point is the Retaliator, and then those people had to
move on to something
go
else.
all the way into server meshing.
Yeah. It'll come around again.
The good news is that the server meshing technology seems to be working pretty solid.
Yeah. And here's a good question. Stuff. Here's a good question for Piggles, since it's kind of more in his warehouse. How long do you reckon it's going to take them to go from static to dynamic? Because from everything I've heard, it seems to be a lot quicker than what we're expecting. Like, when would you expect dynamic?
Yeah.
End of year?
It's quite hard to predict something like that because there's a lot of things you have to think about. At a baseline, they have the underlying tech there. You can go in game, you can play it right now. That is our static server meshing. The big difference between static and dynamic server meshing is being able to spin up new servers and change server layouts in real time. The issue we have here is, how do you carve up a system while the shard is running? How do you decide where to put servers? And sure, in our heads it might be easy. We go, okay, there's 500. There's 500 players in New Babbage and another 30 players outside. Let's clearly split New Babbage up into servers for each area. That makes sense in our heads, right? But how do you do that programmatically? How do you tell the game and set where the boundaries are? So that's the issue.
There's actually something that's much more complicated than other than that, because like right now, when you're talking about virtualized servers, which is pretty much what we're doing here, it's very easy to add additional resources to it. So, for example, on a running machine, you can very easily allocate additional, let's say, RAM to the machine, and the machine will just start using it. The problem is that once that gets added, taking it away is a nightmare. How does that system go from having 6 shards in it to 4?
So that's actually not something that I'm very concerned about.
Really?
Because, so it's the same issue as adding servers. It doesn't sound like it, maybe, but it is the same issue. Because say we've currently got a system that's one server for the whole system, right? And there's a bunch of people in that system, so we want to split that system in half, right? That's easy. Split that system in half, add a server, transition everyone in one half to that server, right? It's the same process for going back the other way again. You just tell them the new server to be on, and you transition everything over.
It's essentially connecting all the different systems up. So you've got to connect the server meshing to the object to container stream, right? And we know that's how it's going to work because of all the things they've talked about in the past and how it's going to go together. And then I think it's just population based. So there are other factors, but the biggest one would be population. But then there's other things like distance and the things you're drawing on screen. So if you're in a high impact environment and there's a shitload of ships going on and all that stuff, then they might split it into and put 2 different servers, right? But generalistically, you know, they've had servers running with 100 people, no problem. So again, you just every 100 people and dynamically change the servers. I think it's when the containers get bigger. So when you go, because again, the way that the containers are kind of fixed in size is, they're going to have to be able to say, all right, so let's look at this entire system. So let's just take Stanton. We have 300 people in Stanton, and we've got 100 on Lawville. Okay, so that's in its own container, so that's one server. But then the other 200 are just in space. So do we just directly cut the whole space into 2, and that's 2 more servers? That's the tricky part, is exactly how to cut a single container in 2 or more. That's the tricky part.
That's what I was really trying to get at. How do you divide where servers go up? And really, as it's set up, you're really looking at saying this object container is on a server. I'm hoping, as it happens, space is kind of divided up a little bit as it is.
So what I'm hoping is that you
can only go so far with that.
So to make it simpler, right? What I'm hoping that they've done, and they've never ever talked about this, but like you were saying, let's just say the space was cut into 6 spaces, right? And I'm just picked a random number, but you can actually merge different object container streams together. So you can have a container around Lawville, you can have a container around area, what do you call it, ArcCorp, even though they're not connected in a container, they're 2 separate containers. But if you've only got 50 on Lawville and 50 in ArcCorp, that could be one server. So in our brain, because we have to physicalize the world, the server doesn't need to physicalize the world because it's a virtual space. So if you can have one server that just running 2 separate individual containers, that's totally fine.
That is possible, and that's already been done in previous static tests with different configurations.
So what I'm hoping is, again, if they cut the space up into sections, as long as there's only people in it, you can just merge the space sections together, essentially, is what I'm saying. And I think that's how they're going to do it. It's the best I've ever been able to come up with in my head, but whether or not that actually pans out as a different totally thing. They might have a different way of doing it, a different tech. But again, I think they will talk about that as they're doing it. And I think one of the reasons they haven't talked about it is because things have failed. And then they don't like to talk about failures until they have a fix.
That's the thing with technical process. It is just a line of failures until you find something that works, and there's nothing you can do about that. That is how it works.
People don't like failures when they're funding the game. It's like, well, I just paid you for 2 years to look at this and it didn't work. It's like Edison. He learned 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb, but he had to go through those 1,000 steps to make the light bulb. You know,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
You can see them as failures or steps on how to do it. And for me, it's like, well, we're trying to do it this way because we think it's the best way. But no, what we actually learned is it's got to be done this way. It's R&D. And again, publishers don't do R&D. They generalistically only know what they can do. And that's why you don't see these mammoth steps forward in tech. And we are already seeing tech that started in Star Citizen trickle into other game development studios, like the multiple alpha channel maps. Like, I think they have up to 6 maps in Star Citizen. Games before this had like 2. Right? So they've gone to like a much deeper level. It's going to allow us to have all this other data hidden in the maps, like we talked about with geologists and the spawning locations of rocks, tracking where AI goes, where the animals possibly spawn. All those type of things can be hidden in those alpha channels. Not to mention Data Forge and the tech that we have at ships at the moment. Like when you go up real close to a ship and you can see that detail, that's multiple texture maps over the top of each other. So when you're zoomed in really close, it's a tileable pattern that you can do again and again. But when you really fire out, that's just a normal texture. So it makes it appear a lot higher resolution it is. And that tech there specifically is now in other games. And it was all invented by CIG. So you can't tell me eventually, and I think you boys would agree on this, eventually server meshing with the object container streamings is going to be copied. And I wouldn't be surprised if an engine like Unreal Tournament 5 or Unreal 5 doesn't just wait till they fully implement it, they work out all the bugs, and then they just kind of look at it, see how it works, and copy it. That's what I'd be doing. Wouldn't you? Why reinvent the wheel? Let someone else build the wheel and you just copy it.
Well, so, yeah, it's very expensive to do research and stuff like that, and for that reason, that's why I think it's difficult to predict when dynamic meshing might be a thing. But like I said before, the underlying works there. Static meshing is a thing and it works. So as a concept, yeah, we're there. But it's just a case of how do you then implement that to take it further?
Well, Benoit did say it should be quicker to go to dynamic after static. So the jump should be far less time.
Yes, it's the groundwork is there. So it's not as much of a leap in technology because the hard bit's done. Really, you're looking at how do we expand on what we've already done rather than starting something from scratch.
Well, again, because the object container stuff was already done, it's really just connecting them together and a bit more. But I'm simplifying. But sorry, let me go ahead.
So the one thing that I'm afraid of is that back in October, I think that the server mesh technology was pretty pure. Mm-hmm. I fear that in November and December, when they started to panic a little bit about not having something ready at the end of the year, how many hacks were put in. So the more hacks that had to be put in, and for the people that don't really work in software, hacks are like departures from what was originally designed to make it work. I'm concerned with how many of those had to be put in to get it working, because for each one of those that had to be put in, I think additional time is going to be required to implement the dynamic meshing.
It's not great. Obviously, it's not ideal, but I don't see it being as much of an issue as I think you might let on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rapid prototyping is a really common thing.
Yeah, rapid prototyping is a thing. Obviously, when you're then putting it into a product level, you should then sit down and do it properly. But you're always going to have that level of tech there. You're always going to need to go back and refactor things.
Yeah.
All that means is we're moving up the timeline slightly. And if it is a server meshing as a technology is still being heavily worked on and updated as it is for dynamic, I don't see that being as much of an issue, because that should be just refactored and worked on as we go. Naturally you're going to need to change how certain methods and things work, and in the process of that, it will be altered.
So how I told you the bot sometimes crashes?
I just saw that, yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed that it was gone, so I had to open it again. I don't know if there's any more questions, but we're down to like 5 questions anyway, but we've only got about 12 minutes left, so it should be fine. But Socially Confused says, suit lockers were shown in the base teas. Do you think we could place the ones me make on our ship? It would. I guess you could carry it as a cargo box, could you not? Why not?
Yeah.
If you want to take up some of your cargo grid and put a suit locker on it, yeah, I can't see why not. It obviously just takes up a bit of the cargo. Yeah. I don't know. I think you would agree with that, Lemming, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Red Marine says, don't you think they would be able to use the same tech that allows us to walk up to mannequins and try stuff on in a store to use in a suit locker? Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, all that's happening there is just swapping your loadout, so that's you're already using it.
It's probably similar to how you can put up flare items. It's just that in the suit locker you just put that item on that attachment point. But then when you walk up to it, there's like some kind of button that says just apply all, and you just put it all on.
Well, I mean, like you can already like loot a downed person or a downed enemy or whatever you can just grab their undersuit and all the armor and everything comes with it. So
True.
the tech is almost there.
Yeah. It's just, the physical, like putting on, it's removing it from a body and putting on in a suit locker. So yeah, it's, again, there's a lot of things like that. Like, because we've talked about drones, because drones are essentially a remotely controlled snub ship that uses hand tools. So there's only a couple of dots there you got to connect. But again, it's priority order. And again, coming back to that from earlier in the stream. Wolf Blitzer, who says, when do you think we will get back it says back and gold pass the older ships like the Caterpillar? So when we're going to get gold passes on the Connie, the Caterpillar, and some older vehicles, essentially, is what he's saying there.
We can't hear you, X.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
What? Why can't you hear me?
Oh, okay. You're back.
Yeah, we can now.
That was really weird. Okay. So so the question was from Wolf Blitzer. It says, when do you think they will go back and gold past the older ships like the Caterpillar, Connie series, and such? So when do you think we're going to get some gold passes on the older ships?
I think generally gold passes are done as and when the resources become available, or if there's a reason to do it. Like the Caterpillar, not the Caterpillar, the Retaliator, for example. The reason there was, well, for one, it needed to be done for Squadron 42, but also, we're working on modularity. This is our test bed ship, so we're going to need to go through and do that gold standard anyway. Same with the Gladius, that's our test bed ship for fighter stuff. We'll do that. So as and when resources become available, or there's a requirement for it, that's when the gold standard will happen. Everything will get it eventually, and some things would be slated for a rework anyway. Like, we're already looking at a 600i rework, right? So there's no point sitting down and gold standarding that when ideally the rework will be there anyway.
Yeah, I think things like the Caterpillar's got a lot of things with it. Like, it's got those opening doors. It's got the way that the doors are also lifts. Yeah, that's a really tough one. It's also one of the much older ships in the game, so that's a really hard one to call. I'd say it's almost up there in Endeavor levels of down the roadness. And then the Connie, I think the Connie has really just take out some of the struts. Like, look at what they did at the Polaris cockpit, and then just kind of envision that over to the Connie, and you can kind of see where they're going to go.
I think the Connie as we know it isn't going to be the Connie in the final version of the game.
Agreed.
And I think the reason that they're not going to go past the Connie anytime soon is because they know that, and that it's just going to almost get the 600i treatment. It's going to be a very different ship.
I think a lot of the ships have not aged the best. The Connie is one of them. The Caterpillar is one of them. Even things like the Retaliator. A lot of those really older Starfare is one of them. A lot of the ones that we've done ship scrutinies on in the past, they just haven't aged well. But they were created and they learned things from those ships, right? They learned again, it's R&D. Sometimes you just got to build them and see what happens, and then go, well, this doesn't work, and man, how many times have they redone the Connie now? It's like, I think they redid it like 3 times about at this point. So, yeah, like I think honestly, if I look at the Connie objectively, some variants work, but other variants don't. And my biggest issue happens to also be like, just don't get Algrid ever started on the Phoenix, right? You want to talk to Algrid and you want him to speak, just mention the Phoenix and you're off to the races. But realistically, that ship really needs to be broken out into its own variant. And I agree with him on a lot of the issues he has, but I never brought it. So because he brought it, he's just like way more passionate about it. But I don't know. As luxury ship guys, I think you guys are really well versed to speak on that. Just real quick, like, how unluxurious is the Phoenix?
I'm not a luxury ship guy.
You are.
I think it's... No, I'm not. It's a nice ship. That's it, really. The thing with the Phoenix and its separation between the utilitarian front end and luxurious kind of middle section is that the constellations, the variants are modular to an extent, as in a 3D artist can go in and go, okay, we'll keep this bit and change the bit in the middle. And that's generally what they've done. There's no point changing it. That's expensive to change. If we're not planning on making it different, what's the point? Because your VIP passengers are going to be in the nice bit with the bar, right? So
yeah, they have also said like that all ships will eventually get upgrades over time. You know, so I have no doubt we'll see 2.0s and that almost maybe even Mark 2s eventually and stuff of other ships as well, or redos and re-upgrades and stuff like that, just to improve them. I think it, like in any MMO, they go back and update classes, they go back and update the art. It's going to happen, and I reckon that'll happen across SUS and completely.
It's the same with any project, any game, any software. Everything is continually refactored and upgraded.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think 75% of the Phoenix midsection could be taken out and be used to upgrade the Aquila. I never say that word right.
Aquila.
Okay.
I don't know what it is with Americans, but they say kill instead of quill. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
But I think if you take some of the layers away from the Phoenix and make that the new Aquila, that works much better for that ship.
I literally said that I would pull the Phoenix and the Aquila. Was it the Aquila? So like take two of the variants and split them off. Essentially, take the Phoenix, make its own ships to fix all the problems, and then maybe take one of the variants and do that with it. So you could essentially take the Aquila and the Phoenix and make it a different style of ship. So it shares similar things, but it allows them like the fact that the crew share a toilet with the people that are meant to be doing the thing. There's just not enough space. Like all the things that have been promised in that ship is way too big. It needs to be bigger than it actually is. And I think that would ironically give them a ship that's in the same size class as the 600i, because the Connie is a pad size down from the Caterpillar and say the 600i, but it would then allow them to build an RSI ship that's larger, and also so essentially move the Phoenix from being a Connie variant to whatever that ship becomes. And I think that would be the way I would do it, and I would probably put the price up, but then anyone that brought the Constellation Phoenix, just give them a free upgrade. And I don't think they would be disappointed, because I hear nothing but complaints from people that own that thing. But there's a lot of people that want it. So I think that, in a weird way, I think there's some people that really like RSI luxury, but they don't like Origin luxury. And I don't get luxury, so it doesn't kind of resonate with me. But that's kind of why I wanted to ask you two guys, because well, I thought you're saying you're not a luxury guy, Piggles, but you do see the difference between the luxury in a 600 in an Origin ship to the Phoenix, yeah?
There is a difference, but equally you have to remember that they are two different styles essentially. You know, Origin is ostensibly a luxury brand, whereas the Phoenix is basically RSI's attempt at luxury.
Yeah, and they failed. Right, so luxury is luxury regardless, right? Like
it's of course
it's abundance.
Yeah, of course, it would be nice.
That's not abundant. It's just like it's like having a 5-star restaurant next to a series of outhouses. It just does not make any sense, rhyme or reason. The
Phoenix is also just an old design. The Constellation, the current version we've got, as even having been reworked from the old Constellation, is still at this point a fairly old design.
It shows
so
again.
I wouldn't be surprised if it got some TLC at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely a holdover from an older design. So someone put it down on paper and it sounded really good, but then when they tried to put it into practice and theory, it just didn't pan out. You know, there's so many things that me and Algot have sat there and done, like the Connie itself, like the fact that it's got no front landing leg when it lands, because they want it to be able to drive out and in with the vehicle. It just tells me you kind of really need to move that whole cargo bay that's in the midsection. It really needs to be moved to the back so you can actually put some landing gear in.
I'm not opposed to not having that front gear, because you've got such a heavy weight distribution towards the rear, and that you've got that
But it's other
You've
benefits
got that
too.
overhang that gives you that counterbalance.
Well,
from
it
the
has
front.
to have this custom dock for the Merlin. If you'd actually redone it so that Merlin deck wasn't there and the cargo bay was there instead, you could then have had a deck on top where the Merlin lands almost like on the Carrack. So it would have been like just in line with every other ship in the game instead of this special docking thing that it has. It does make it unique.
And the thing is, that was very much a test bed for ship-to-ship docking as well.
Yeah, it was.
Agreed.
Hmm.
And right now, the Merlin on the back of a Connie is a bomb that you are carrying around on your ship that people shoot, and the bomb blows up. Oh, you just got whacked with the tail.
No, I didn't get whacked. I'm a bit of distance between me and...
Okay.
He's here, and I'm back here, so
Okay.
it's totally fine. Right. But he just comes for pats, is what he's like. He's a big sookie baby. I know why he's here, because it's 11 o'clock. It's food time. He's trying to tell me subtly that, hey, I'm hungry. Where's my food, bitch? We're almost done, Jax. So Radium TX says, Caterpillar is still planning to be modular, right? Yes, it is. And we had that confirmed by Ben and John when we talked to them at CitizenCon. Also by Radium TX, he says, put the Cat tractor beams on arms like the Zeus CL and make them... That'd be really cool, actually. Have them fold out of the fuselage. That's probably totally going to be a thing. I would agree with that. If they've done it for a Zeus, why can't they do that for the Caterpillar? Yeah. Would you guys agree with that? Instead of just having them as like little gimbaled beams, they're actually like an arm that folds out of the Caterpillar wing and...
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see why not.
Yeah. All right, down the last three questions. We've got Manny who says, question, when I realized the command module on the Caterpillar is the same as the Ironclad, I ask, is there any reason to have both ships? I'm leaning into applying the CCU Caterpillar to the Ironclad. They are not exactly the same. Because they're also considered the escape pod of Drake, they actually have extra seats, essentially, in the Ironclad version, so that makes it a little bigger. And I think it also doesn't have the tractor beams. I'd have to go double check that, but from what I remember, they are similar, but they are not the same. And they can technically swap and dock with the other ship, was the other thing. But they are not the same. I don't know, I'm going to put this out there. This has never been talked about, but do you think you could theorize that you could buy a command module and attach the opposite to your other ship? Say you wanted to get an Ironclad one and attach it to the Caterpillar. Do you think that is a thing that they may eventually do, like sell the module in game?
Oh my god, a money grab.
Money grab, yes.
Sorry.
It depends on what kind of standardization of docking adapter you're looking at there, because in game we do have our standardized docking adapters. We have those like big double door things right now, and with Drake, you go in the Caterpillar, you can see there is like a bulkhead door and a bulkhead door that both match. When you go out into the bridge, and then it's in that kind of big circular joint. So if the Ironclad has the same, from a purely looking at it from some art point of view, sure, why not? But it's really up to CIG on whether they want to allow that or not.
Yeah. Right. Anything else you want to add there, Lemming, or no?
No, I'm good.
All right. Down to the last question, or second last question. Yeah, Waffle Insanity says, if we think the Endeavour will be 400 plus in size meters, do you think that the same for the Crucible? No, I don't think the Crucible will be as big as the Endeavour, but I think it is definitely going to grow. Again, I think they're doing a lot more stuff to metrics now, so I would assume, based on the fact that Scarab now has to be equivalent to an S2 pad size, that means the ship's got to grow. Also, it might even go bigger to an S3 to accommodate ships like the Freelancer and that, but also they could just go around them like they do with the Connie and the MSR and stuff like that. So it really comes down to bringing those ships back up to speed to fit it. I think that's also why the Crucible's a little bit pushed down a bit, because they want to finish certain ships and then know that it's going to work around those ships. I think some of these things, they've just, again, it's part of the learning process. They've been kicked the can down the road a little bit.
So currently the Crucible is 90 meters long, and the Liberator is 120 meters long, or 119.
Mm-hmm.
I highly suspect that the Crucible will look a lot like the Liberator.
Yeah, possibly. I still think I'm going to go for that rotisserie restaurant thing, though, personally. But
yeah, maybe.
All right, last question for the day. We have from Red Marine, who says, question, don't you think that they would be able to use the tech that allows us to try on a full armor set in the store? No, we already did that one. He's asked the same question again. So we're done. Thank you for joining us, Piggles. Is there anything you want to say to everyone before we raid?
No, I think we had a good stream. Lots of questions.
Okay, so what I'm thinking, we're just going to raid Zero State. He's only literally just started. He had 11 viewers when I just looked at him. So we'll raid Zero State, get him kicked off, and you guys can go join him. Ask him how he went at CitizenCon. Ask him what he thought about meeting me at CitizenCon. Was I as crazy as he expected? And I'll come along and join you guys in a little bit. Thanks again for joining us today, Piggles. Lemming, thank you for joining us as well. I really appreciate having both of you here. Really cool discussions today, and it is really good to that's why I like talking to different people, because when it's just me and Algrid, it gets a bit samey. So talking to other people is always good. Hope I didn't go too passionate on you guys in some of those there, but some really deep things that I enjoyed talking about today. So yeah. All right. With that then, Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say goodbye to Twitch, and they're gone. Right, with that, with YouTube, don't forget. He actually.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
What's going on with my microphone?
You're back again. You've been in and out a couple of times.
I think it might just be the distance from my mic or something like that I've played with. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway, apologies for that. But yeah, I'm back. Might just be a connection issue of some description. Anyway, with that then, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone that went that extra mile on Patreon. I really appreciate it. It helps us out with gear and stuff like that. All right. He's been Piggles. The voice in the void has been Lemming. I've been Execute. See you next time, citizens. Bye. Say goodbye.